Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the Fearless Floyd Show. As always, I am your host, Fearless Floyd, and today is, thank God, it's Friday, I guess, maybe, depending on your week. It is August 16th, 2024, and everybody, thank you for being here. I had a few of you reach out to me yesterday, and somebody sent me a video, or actually a link to a video on the coronavirus. We're going to go take a look at that in a second. So let me give you the lineup for today. Dr. Sherry Peel Jackson will be on the show at 1 o'clock, 2 Eastern, 1 Central, 12 Mountain, 11 Pacific. So stay tuned for her. If you don't know who Dr. Sherry Peel Jackson is, she's a former IRS agent, CPA, real estate investor, domestically and international, as well as an educator. She was persecuted, went to prison, got out. Now she's one of us. So she's going to give you guys an education for about 2 hours, from 2 to 4, which would be her time, Eastern, 1 to 3 Central time. Then at 3:10, and I'm going to end this video, and I'm going to crank the next video up at 3:10. So if you're tuning into this, you're going to have to tune into the next one. I wanted to keep them separate. That way you don't have to sit through, 4 or 5 hours, 6 hours like I did yesterday to just get to a little bit of information that you're looking for. So Jeff Rahm will be on at 3:10 with an RV update, and looking forward to having him on. And let me go over here and see who we got here today. Hey, Bear, welcome back. Land of Lincoln. Is that Lincoln, Nebraska? Or Abraham Lincoln? Fed Up Patriot. Glad y'all guys are back. Hey, Fred, how you doing? Irinka Alok, happy Friday. San Antone, okay. SATX, we were just talking about that yesterday. The old river walk. Hey, Petty Sock, afternoon. So thank you guys again for tuning in. Chief Fast Horse and I spoke again after the show yesterday. So let's just cover that a little bit for about a couple minutes. Then I want to dive into the video so I have a little bit of time before Sherry comes on. I hope Jeff does too. I haven't spoken to him in a couple days. So we've all been, kind of texting, but we really haven't spoke. I lost my train of thought on that. I got to move the comments. I will lose my train of thought. Chief. Okay. So yesterday in the chat, there was some disbelief, some confusion. And hey, look, I'm right there with you. Okay. Some of the things he's telling me, I'm just like, okay, I don't know if it's true or not either. Okay. I'm in the audience with you guys. All right. And, I did talk to him about him. When we ask a direct question, he'll start answering it and then he'll drift off and the answer never gets answered. And we just heard, 5 minutes of an answer that really didn't address the issue. So I spoke to him about that. I spoke to him about, hey, I got to find out when I can cut in when you start getting off the trail to cut you back in. So as I speak to him more and more and more, I'm learning his little nuances and when to cut him off and when not, and when to, put him back on track or when to really pin him down. So all the things that we talked about yesterday on the show for 5 hours, he says he can produce every bit of it. And I'm looking forward to every bit of it. So I told him last night, start lining these folks up that you keep telling that, you can bring on the show and we'll bring them on. You can guest host, whatever you want to do. Floor's wide open. People want information. So that's what we're going to do. So don't for a minute think just because I'm on air that I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do as an investigative journalist seeking the truth. Okay. Because there's things I can do on air, things I can't do on air. So I address those on the back end after the show, review it. He always asks me, how was the show? How was the audience? And I give him truthful feedback. Hey, this is the deal. They asked you a question, you veered off. So we got to get you back on track on that. He's going to the UN to speak. We'll see what that looks like. Obviously, JFK Sr., he's going to bring in some a Chinese elder or some Chinese elders, and some other people. I mean, he just throws so much at me, I can't keep up with it all. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to interacting some more with him. He called me, very early this morning, before 9, I think, which violates the rules, or the rule, because it's just one rule. I got our 5 phones. Oh, when he called me 5 minutes before, so I'll let him make it 5 minutes. I just uploaded a video. Well, I've got Chief all the way. So I just uploaded another video. It was live. It was chapter 3 of the 2024 Democratic platform. Some of you may be going, oh, what's he doing? Okay. We all deserve to know what how can I even say this correctly without you guys laughing and snickering? Let's just say the parties at hand, okay, what their dogma, what their mission statement is, what their goals are, what their alleged accomplishments have been. So what I've done is I've gone through the draft of the 2024 Democratic Party platform. It's 9 chapters. I broke it up to the introduction that gives you what it's about, the table of contents, and then I broke it up into 9 different chapters. So I will produce each one of those for you guys. You don't have to watch it, okay? But if you'd like to know what the other side's up to or your side's up to, instead of reading an 80-page document, you can just turn it on and listen to it. So you can go work out and listen to it. You can go do yard work and listen to it. You can watch TV and listen to it. You can multitask. You can cook and listen to it. So that's what I made it for. For some reason, I'm not over here on Rumble. Oh, let me go live over there. Hang on one second. I got to get this Rumble thing down because what are you doing? Nobody hit that. And of course, it's not here. So error. Yeah, I've got to figure that out. So I'll get that down this weekend. So if you're over on Rumble, I'll upload it afterwards, like I always do. I just got to figure out how to get it live. This whole, you got to put a placeholder in there and then go back and do all this finagling. And I kind of hate that you have to do that, during the show. Let's see. What else did I want to address? I believe that's it. So let me go over here and look around. I will produce these. I did chapter 3 and uploaded it for a live right before this show. And for some reason, the sound didn't take. So 86 that and uploaded chapter 2, which for some reason should have been there, but wasn't. It's scheduled. I don't know for when. I'm looking at it, but I'll get it over there to you guys. Video unavailable. All right, that makes sense. So get to the right tab for you guys. Well, sometime today. Boy, YouTube's slow. Sometime today. Why is it doing that? History, browse videos. I haven't watched these videos. Sorry about this. Come on. It should have been right on top. Of course, it's not. So I got to go look it up. It's the one I watched. All right, let me pull it up for you guys. Sorry about it. Took me so long. This is it right here, Chronoscope. Andrew Legge, I guess you pronounce that.
I still cannot believe, and I don't want to be sexist about this, but that an ordinary woman in the 1930s could come up with this incredible machine which goes against all possible scientific theories and get results.
To this day, in our own time, someone as sui generis, shall we say, as Charlotte Keppel, who was so all-embracing, so all-encompassing in the breadth and stature of her gifts, is somehow effectively and consummately written out of history.
What all this is about is a narrative, how we create narratives and how we exclude from narratives. And Charlotte was a classic victim of exclusion. I didn't discover her until I was going through newspaper archives of the 1930s. And I came across this well-publicized young woman who was technologically brilliant, ahead of her time, who was really well known in Ireland.
We see the past all the time. Every time we stare into the nighttime sky at that vast myriad of stars, we're looking into the depths of time. The sheer vastness of space means that it can take millions of years for light to travel from a star to Earth. The Andromeda Galaxy. 2 million light years away from Earth. The supernova we see in that far-off galaxy actually happened 2 million years ago. If we could see the Earth then.
It is 1938, the end of a decade of unprecedented change. Madcap politics, social unrest, dingbat inventions, and exciting new scientific discoveries are all the rage. In the spring of that year, academics from around Europe gather for the presentation of one such discovery at Dublin's Royal Irish Academy. The discovery's author is a 28-year-old Irish woman by the name of Charlotte Keppel. Charlotte is a self-taught scientist. She comes from a long line of crackpot inventors. Obsessed by science from an early age, Charlotte spends her boarding school days fashioning Tesla coils out of hairpins and cutlery.
I came across an old yearbook from her convent. And within the pages of the yearbook, I discovered the most extraordinary story. The girls, as usual, after evening prayer, had returned to the refectory for their evening meal. No sooner had the Reverend Mother said grace before there was an extraordinary bang. Charlotte had actually blown the Sacré-Cœur dormer to bits in the course of experiments with Tesla coils.
Charlotte is promptly expelled from the nunnery. Liberated from the boundaries of a conventional education, Charlotte is free to serve apprenticeships with various physicists and chemists. It is during these years that Charlotte develops her revolutionary wave theory.
I'm Charlotte Keppel. I'm here today to talk to you about the new form of radiation I discovered. A waveform with very similar properties to light. As we all know, light travels at a speed of 186,000 miles per second. Which means, what are we, 6 feet apart?
An estimate.
It takes approximately 6 nanoseconds for the light to travel from me to you. Which means, I'm seeing you as you were 6 nanoseconds ago. The waveform that I've discovered takes approximately 5 years. To travel that same distance.
Charlotte had stumbled onto something simple yet remarkable. Like the way astronomers see events in space as they happened millions of years ago, here is a slow-traveling waveform all around us, but invisible to the human eye, that carries with it information from the past. Upon this eloquent discovery, she built the Chronoscope, a machine that can detect these waves and render scenes of history in vivid images.
The thing looks like a Heath Robinson invention. You wouldn't think it could possibly work until you see that footage. I think most people thought there was a man behind her doing all the technical work, but she did it. It sounds so futuristic, and yet all this was happening in the late 30s.
We are looking at the scientific discovery of the century. Since revealing to the world the marvels of the Chronoscope, a machine that can see the past, the charming Miss Charlotte Keppel has become internationally famed. News of her discovery has spread around the globe like wildfire. In her native city of Dublin, Miss Keppel entertains an audience of historians and dignitaries, including the Prime Minister of Era, Mr. Eamon de Valera. In London, Mr. Albert Einstein welcomes her to the International Physics Convention. And this queer fellow is Lieutenant Colonel Copcroft. Copcroft commented that what astonished him the most about the whole affair was not that this came from the mind of a woman, but that she was Irish. And here's a more sinister admirer, Dr. Heinrich Freisler, an archaeologist from the Third Reich. Freisler has already made a bid for the Chronoscope, but our girl shows that crowd a clean pair of heels. Good show, Charlotte.
Freisler was one of those odd characters who perhaps really only discovered himself in jail. It was while he was in jail doing time after the failed putsch that he discovered archaeology. And he became a self-educated archaeologist with a lot of cranky ideas.
Der Neger hat einen dickknochigen Schädel als Schutz gegen Speere und einen kräftigen Unterkiefer.
This is one of Dr. Freisler's films. He made countless such productions with his colleague of dubious academic credentials, Oswald Poppendick.
You have to remember that Germany had been defeated at the end of World War I and was desperately humiliated because they were a military nation and they wanted to restore pride to the German people. And they needed race theories to back up their policies. So a woman who had produced a machine which, as with television, could produce images of the present, she could produce images of the past, and they could prove to the world that they were right.
Not everyone shares Dr. Freiser's enthusiasm for Charlotte and her chronoscope.
Charlotte got into trouble with the Catholic Church because it seemed her chronoscope was going to give them a view into the past when they were looking for the canonization of this man, Father Matthew. For her technology to reveal the flaws in Father Matthew was, well, it was a political disaster. Look, it wasn't long before this that the Committee for Evil Literature had promulgated a ban on references to menstruation. So can you imagine the impact this had on a society that was run by a committee against evil literature? Can you imagine?
Charlotte stokes further controversy when she insults a group of nationalist historians with images of their heroes in the 1916 Rising that don't quite match the glorified historical narrative being taught to Irish school children.
This reinforces the diction that women should stay by the fireside. She's disgraced herself and her people, her womanhood and the church. She's a poison which secretly but effectively corrupted the heart and undermined the rest of the whole country. This blowing needs to blow out, and if she doesn't, she'll blow up and the Chronoscope with her.
There were attempts to break up the machine. Late at night, there was ferocious pounding at the door, and masked men arrived in. They threatened to cut Charlotte's hair off, and they said that they would kick her machine from here to Cork, with her in it.
Her spirit almost broken, Charlotte nevertheless presses on with her research, despite the intrusion of the public and newspaper hacks.
My machine was built purely as a tool for scientific research. Intention is, and always has been, in the interest of science. Help us understand the truth about our past.
But on the evening of March the 9th, 1939, her work is rudely interrupted.
Der Führer sowie der Reichsmarschall heißen die berühmte Wissenschaftlerin Frau Charlotte Keppel willkommen im Deutschen Reich. Frau Keppel hat die herausragenden Archäologen Dr. Heinrich Freisler bei seiner Erforschung des arischen Volkes zu unterstützen. Mit Hilfe des Chronoscope werden Sie Deutschlands glorreiche Vergangenheit aufdecken und der Welt überwältigende Bilder von der Entstehung der arischen Rasse darbieten.
Helmut Buhler was a young officer on the expedition.
Ja, diese Expedition war ein einziges Desaster. Dieses Chronoskop ließ von Dr. Freisler nichts mehr übrig. Bei Ausgrabungen zum Beispiel kamen nicht deutsche, sondern polnische Sachen zustande. Wir kamen an Städten, wo angeblich früher mal fantastische, großartige deutsche Städte gestanden hatten. Aber in dem Chronoskop konnte man nichts anderes sehen als Generationen und Generationen von kleinen, fetten Menschen, die mit ihren Schweinen zusammen in Schlammhütten wohnten.
When you're dealing with myth, you're dismantling something very close to people's identity. And you cannot touch myth without being at risk, in a very real sense, sometimes of your own life.
As the months slip by, Charlotte's defiance turns to fear, as pressure mounts on her to produce a satisfactory image for the Nazi Party. A battle rages between the Nazis' desperate hunger for images to validate their philosophy and the visions provided by the Chronoscope. It reaches crisis point.
Ich döste vor mich hin und wurde plötzlich aufgeschreckt von dem Geschrei von Dr. Freisler, der behauptete, dass der Apparat von der jungen Frau sein gesamtes Lebenswerk als Archäologe zerstört. Er wurde immer wütender und begann mit seinem Haken auf das Chronoskop einzuschlagen. Sie versuchte, das Chronoskop zu verteidigen, aber er blieb irgendwie mit dem Haken in dem Chronoskop hängen. Es gab eine riesige Explosion. Das war das Letzte, was man von Dr. Freisler je gehört hat.
Around the world, the news of Charlotte's sentence is received with dismay. Allied leaders petition the Reich government for clemency, but their pleas fall on deaf ears. The Nazi ideologues thirst for Charlotte's blood. The prison authorities announced that Charlotte's execution is to be carried out on the following day hence. Charlotte had fashioned a Tesla coil out of bed springs, forks, and hairpins. She plugged the object into the cell's light bulb socket. It created a massive power surge. The Gestapo records reveal that Charlotte crossed the border into Switzerland 2 weeks later. After this, her trail disappears.
What do I think it became of Charlotte? I mean, speculation in many respects is kind of pointless in this. And there have been many mythologies and many rumors that have grown up inevitably around the figure of Charlotte Keppel.
Well, there's some theories that she went to South America, which is very ironic because that's where the war criminals went.
She was written out of history. Her technology was written out of history. And, you know, almost within a year, almost everyone had forgotten that there had been this thing called the Chronoscope, which could look back into the past. Why? Because they didn't want to know about it.
Charlotte, now quietly, and it seems deliberately, slipped forever from the public sphere. The eventual fate of the 20th century's greatest female scientist remains, to this day, a mystery.
Our history books are simply a record of the heroic deeds and follies of the ruling classes. The Chronoscope is a tool of enlightenment, to shine a light into the dark, forgotten areas of our past. It has shown us that history is written by man, but that the history of mankind is written forever in light.
And of course, I always run the credits because I like to give where credit is due. And with those credits, me being a professional stagehand and rigger, if I had actually worked on that production, I would be in those credits. So those are the people who work hard behind the scenes to do productions. So all of those names, that's kind of what I do behind the scene. So guess what the chief says he has? One of those, a coronavisor. So we're going to go look at the past. I think that's going to be pretty neat. So one of these days, we're going to get together, and I may have to fly out to California. He invited me out there. I've never been to California. I'd love to go. Rather go to Puerto Rico, but if I have to like go the opposite direction to get the opposite direction, then I'll go to California. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to do a lot of things. He says he can take me underground, meet, you know, whatever's living underground in the hollow earth. Hey, I'm in. I'm in. Okay. So as much as I can do to substantiate all the claims made by Chief Fast Horse, I'm going to go try to vet myself live on the air. Absolutely. Hopefully I'll have a better camera or a camera person that can document everything for us. That's what I have one, but you know, those people cost money, and I try to do this on the LB, low budget, as much as possible. That way I don't have to have advertisers and sponsors and monetize videos. So that's what I try to do for you. What time we have here? 12:36. Okay. Yeah, let me go over here. I want to show you guys something else. Watched. There we go. And I have not watched this other one. Why are you tripping? Get ready, folks, because this is what we're in for.
So Ainsley, new Fox News polls are out, and Trump has a sizable advantage over Harris on immigration and the border. 87% of voters say the border is an emergency and a major problem.
Yep, that's right. And 71% of voters say the Biden-Harris administration is responsible for the border crisis. Fox News national correspondent Griff Jenkins is here to react. Griff, if this is true, if the number one issue is economy and inflation, number two, what we're hearing or what we're seeing in polls is the border, Trump looks like he would do really well in this election.
Well, and good morning, Lawrence and Ainsley. Let's connect some dots here. It's not surprising, I think, that nearly 9 in 10 Americans are deeply concerned about the border because of the deluge of almost daily incidences of migrant crime that we're seeing. Look, the officials knew, this administration knew 3.5 years ago when they started mass releasing people that included single adult males that this would be the result, a public safety issue and a national security issue. Just look at yesterday, we learned on Wednesday, ICE arrested a Peruvian gang leader wanted for 23 murders. He's the head of Los Killers, the most dangerous gang in Peru. He illegally crossed in May in Roma, Texas of this year. 2 months later, they realized after he had been released on a notice to appear that they needed to bring him into custody. Now, when they took him into custody, ICE did what they had to do to secure the community from that threat. And remember, Harris, back in 2020, in an interview, said that she wanted to start over from scratch, essentially eliminating ICE. But don't stop there. This week alone, we've seen the Haitian migrant that raped a pregnant woman, another Haitian migrant that raped a teenage girl in a Massachusetts hotel. He came through the legal pathway of that CHNV. You got the Singalese migrant that raped a woman on a park bench in the Bronx, and I could go on and on. The point is that the American people aren't blind, and they're seeing, I think, Ainsley, the results, the consequences, in some cases, horrific, tragic, and deadly consequences of the policies with respect to the border that this administration has applied.
So, Griff, obviously, you just talked about the criminal element of this issue, but another part of that is when it comes to the drugs that are coming across the border, and that's affecting every major American city. And you got a new Fox Nation special about that.
That's right. Thanks, Lawrence. And it's called Fentanyl, America's Quiet Killer. Look, fentanyl is the deadliest drug threat the U.S. has ever faced. It's been years in the making, and it touches every single town in every state in this nation. Here's a little sample of our special that's live now on Fox Nation. It's cheap, potent, and addictive, and it's silently ripping our nation apart.
In that moment, had I known, I wouldn't have let go.
This is fentanyl, America's quiet killer. That's Andrea Thomas, a grieving mother. We also interview the DEA administrator, Ann Milgram, in an exclusive interview, along with the head of the CBP, Troy Miller, that walks us through the battle against the cartels in Mexico and trying to stop that supply chain that starts in China.
Wow.
Gosh, those stories break my heart. I mean, all it takes is one mistake, one child who orders it on social media.
The back of an eraser of a pencil can kill you. That's all it takes.
It does, guys. Just 2 milligrams of fentanyl powder could kill you. That's about the weight of a mosquito, guys.
Oh my gosh. I mean, what do we do? You have to talk to your kids,
Yeah.
but I mean, we all did stupid
Just
things.
don't experiment. Just come
you
to-
can't even do drugs.
Yeah.
You cannot do drugs at all. You
It's
don't
not the
know where it
same.
came from.
Yeah.
It's exactly.
I'll just add this on a personal note. I just this week dropped off my 18-year-old daughter at college, and I told her, I said, listen, I want you to have fun. Do what, all the kids are doing. Don't do drugs, but most importantly, don't take a pill because the cartels are making pills that look like Adderall or Xanax or anything that kids might experiment with. They make these fentanyl pills, and in a moment's notice, you're dead because of these pills.
Don't take a drink from someone
If
unless
you
it's a
drop
bartender.
it down, if you
do not
leave
take
the
a drink from a
don't
guy.
pick it back up.
Exactly. You don't know what they put in
Griff,
it.
we're going to be catching your special on Fox Nation. We urge our audience to do the same thing. Fentanyl, America's Quiet Killer, available now on Fox Nation. Thanks,
you,
Griff.
I'm Steve Ducey. I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I mean,
I'm Fearless Floyd, and welcome back to the show. So, you'll go on that adventure with me? Let's see. Get back up here. Checking the chats. So you want to go, Buffy? All right. Travis, you want to go too? Yeah, well, let's get a caravan. Let's all go. Cartels pray evil spells over the drugs. Hearsay. Well, Buffy, that would not surprise me at all because most of the Latinos, Hispanics, especially down there, practice Santa Maria type of a voodoo type religion. Call it the magic bus. Yeah. What is that going to look like? Okay. Let's just hypothetically try to look at, let's say Trump wins the election. They actually get him inaugurated in January 2025, and he's the president. So what does that look like on January 21st? Is he going to wave some magic wand and all this deportation is going to start? Is ICE going to spread out over the streets? Because what they're going to do, okay, because this is what the government does, they're going to use a catastrophe to take more of your rights. So the catastrophe is we got all these illegal immigrants in here. Now we have to identify them. So how can we identify them? Well, we need to scan your license plates to make sure the license plate is registered to you and that you are a U.S. citizen or a U.S. national or non-resident alien or whatever, that you're here actually legally. Maybe even some possible facial recognition. There may be sweeps. There may be door to door. Nobody really knows what this is going to look like. Or if they just, come out with something, hey, if you're here illegally, you commit a crime, federally, we're going to give you the death penalty. That would probably make a lot of them scramble. Get somewhere, go sit down, shut up, go back to where they came from. I don't know what that looks like. But it's up to us because, law enforcement can't handle it. Especially in these blue cities where they want to defund the police. I mean, how stupid is that? We're going to import the worst of the worst killers, serial killers. Obviously, you just heard this guy killed 23 people. That's a serial killer, folks. That's an assassin. That's a hitman. And they're everywhere in the United States. People just like that from all over, every country. Somalia, Yemen, all these countries you hear about, these terrorists come from or that are right now, trying to attack U.S. naval ships in the Middle East. The worst of the worst are here. You heard what they're saying. These guys are just raping women sitting on park benches in the middle of the park in broad daylight. Broad daylight. They don't care about the repercussions. Why? Because there's no bail in New York. So New York is just wide open for crime. They hung the shingle out. Come commit crimes. We're not going to hold you accountable. That's what it looks like when mentally ill people are accepted as normal and are supported by other mentally ill people and are put into elected positions. These people are sick. They're demented. This is an issue that we all have to address. Because if nobody realizes this yet, the Democratic Party, and I would say the Republican Party as well. Matter of fact, I'm going to say that. They're both satanic entities. They're evil. They are not created. They do not operate in the best interest of we the people. They operate for itself, to keep its own entity alive, to keep that power, keep that machine moving. They just churn people through there, and they find the rising stars. They bring them up, promote them, push them out like they're doing with camel toes. She's the new media sensation. She's been a failure everywhere she's been. But they want to make her into this superstar. And I don't know who has a harder time just talking openly between her and Joe. And I just, I really can't believe people are that stupid, that ignorant, that dumb, that unintelligent to accept this. I'm just appalled and shocked that the American people just continue to carry on every day. Like, who cares that jar of peanut butter costs $6 now? My protein powder, I used to get it from a company that was in the UK. It doubled in price last year. Doubled. I mean, didn't increase, it doubled. So I quit buying from them. I went and found another source. Bought it from them. When I first started buying from them, I think I could buy 15 pounds of organic pea protein powder, unflavored, for I think like $16, maybe 17. Now it's in the 30s. I mean, it's almost doubled in this short period of time. That's what we're up against. These people don't care. They're trying to wipe the middle class off the face of the United States of America. So please beware of what's going on and what's happening in your neighborhoods. We need to start holding these elected officials accountable. Absolutely. This is my whole thing. Okay. You got Scott McKay over here. He wants to create these common law grand juries. And he's got his little paid subscription. So you got to pay monthly to get into his little group, to participate in his little tactical civics thing. And then you got Annabon Wright Center Assembly, Destry Payne, his assembly, David Lester Straight, crisscrossing the country, doing his little thing. And then you got all these other jural assemblies, and everybody doesn't want to, congeal and harmonize. Everybody wants to have their own little factions so they can have their own little fiefdom, be their own little guru, their own leader. They don't want to surrender their power to somebody else. And that's a problem. This country is divided in so many different ways, so many different factions. And as long as that continues, this country isn't going nowhere but downhill. Downhill. And it's up to us to stand up and say something. That's why I do this show. That's why I talk about this stuff. That's why I talk about the border. That's why I talk about illegal immigration. That's why I talk about inflation. Talk about the administration, Congress. I don't care if you're a Republican, Democrat, independent, liberal, conservative, liberal. I just really don't care. You're either a good politician or you're not. You're either corrupted or you're not. You're working for the people or you're not. You're working for yourself or you're working for the corporation. And until we hold these people accountable, nothing's going to change. We have to forewarn them that you're going to get solicited by Big Pharma, the military industrial complex, all those big, multinational companies. They're going to come at you. They're going to invite you to parties, and they're going to try to take advantage of you and blackmail you so they can get you to do whatever they want. But elected officials don't realize this, and they think, oh, I'm going to this big party. They're flying me to wherever and paying for everything. And, boom, next thing you know, you're watching a video of yourself in bed with two underage kids. And you're like, oh, man, my career's over. Yeah, your life's over. You've been had. You got duped. You got hoodwinked, bamboozled. And that's what's wrong. As I've told you guys before, Sheila Jackson Lee's 18th Congressional District here in Houston, Texas, and U.S. Congress. I wanted to find out who ran against her, so I went and looked last time, and a woman named Carmen. And I was like, how did this woman lose to Sheila Jackson Lee, the dumbest, most ignorant congressperson to ever be elected to public office? I mean, she's dumb as a box of rocks. And I go look at Carmen. Carmen was the 1984 Miss Venezuela. She was the 1985 Miss Universe. I'm like, that woman lost to Sheila Jackson Lee? How? So I called her up. I had a conversation with her. Well, she told me Speaker of the House at the time, Kevin McCarthy, came to Harris County, Houston, Texas, pulled all funding from every MAGA candidate that was running on the Republican ticket, supported the Democrats. That's why I say the Republican National Party, committee, whatever you want to call it, is evil. It's satanic. Now, are the Trump satanic? Who knows? I don't know. Do I think that Trump has been in some very compromising situations? Absolutely. And for those of you who don't know, some of you have never been Mr. Popular or Miss Popular or had unlimited money and access to that type of authority and power. I have. I've been there. At one time, I swear to God, literally, I could walk down the beach and girls would try to drag me in the water to have sex. I didn't even know them. They're just like, oh my God, run, grab my arm, start pulling. What are you doing? Who the hell are you? Come on. No, not doing that. At least I can get to know your name. So I've had that kind of power. And when you get there, okay, regular everyday sex with just a one woman, that just loses its luster after a while, especially when you've been through all the models, the actresses, the Playboy centerfolds, the penthouse pets, the magazine cover girls. When you've had a bunch of those, you're like, okay, well, I've had the most beautiful chick in the world, maybe I need 2 of them or 3 of them. And then you move on to more perverted things because that just doesn't get you off anymore. So as you gain more and more power, authority, money, wealth, influence, you're able to get out there and really, really, really do crazy things to get your jollies. And that's what these people do. And they eventually go over into the deep end. So I comprehend what it is once you hit that level. So Trump's been a billionaire his entire life because his father was a billionaire. And of course, he was the favored son because he went straight into the family business as opposed to a sister who went into the judiciary, now retired, one step away from the United States Supreme Court due to ethics violations. So Trump's been in some compromising positions. He's been the guy with all the money, slept with a million girls. Don't think he has it. Has he been to Epstein Island? Probably. I'm sure a bunch of people went to Epstein Island that we don't know about, that we would probably be shocked to find out that they went. Now, did they go there for nefarious reasons? We don't know. We weren't there. We don't have any proof that they did. We can presume that they did just on the basis of Epstein's history. So I don't know what's going to become of this country. But we all need to buckle down and be prepared for anything, because there's no telling what's going to come. As you see, they let somebody wanted for 23 murders free in our country. And how many millions? Statistically, you would say just one would meet that criteria? No. It's thousands, if not tens of thousands of idiots, just like I showed you. How many military men have come in here and set up camp, and they're waiting on somebody push that button and activate them to where they can do what they need to do, what they're trained to do. So please be aware of what's going on. Please be prepared. Please take note. And please stand up and say something. Don't be a wallflower. Write letters. Go create a YouTube channel. Get on social media. Do whatever you have to do, because we need to make our voice heard. We have to change this. The political machinations don't work for us. Those are all corporations, folks. They're not governments. And they don't care about you. They care about themselves, because they are all vampiristic, parasitic, greedy, infantile entities that just want to live off you. That's it. Fines, fees, and taxes. And if you don't pay those, guess where they put you? In jail and prison, right? So we're getting it from all ends. And the only way that's going to change is us. You just heard, I did a video with Justice Neil Gorsuch of the United States Supreme Court, who clearly said an American commits one felony every day, one federal felony, because there's so many laws on the books. It's insanity. No one person can know every law on the books. No one person can know all state law that's on the books. All you have to do is go look at Vernon's Texas annotated statutes and codes, and just be like, wow, that's a lot of law. Tax law, property law, trademark, copyright. I mean, it just goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. Our judicial system's broken. Criminal justice system broken. All that needs to be repaired, fixed. If we continue to allow it to continue the way it is today, we're going to continue to do the same stupid stuff over and over and over and over. And that's what we're trying to prevent, so we can be free, so we can have the pursuit of happiness and life, liberty, and property. And here's our illustrious guest, right on time. Dr. Sherry Peel's in the background. Let me get over here and hit you guys up with her. I had her website pulled up. But let me get it for you. All right. Give me 1 second, Sherry. Let me get over here and show everybody your website before we get going. And here's our website, Sherry Peel Jackson, SP Jackson Consulting, LLC. And Sherry wants to help you keep what you earn, protect what you earn, and grow what you earn. Eliminate your debt, reduce taxes, and develop strategies and expertise to retain your wealth. And she has a bunch of courses and books. Everything's right here. We're going to go over all this. She's going to teach you everything. And, well, not everything, but she's going to give you a synopsis of what she offers in her books and courses. We're also going to talk about her own adventures with the IRS and the United States government. So everybody, please give a round of applause to Dr. Sherry Peel Jackson. How you doing?
Good afternoon, Floyd. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you for being here. Very honored to have you back. Most people don't know she's been on my show before. I have to thank James C. Lovett for turning me on to her, the Bad Wolf. If you guys don't know who he is, go check him out on YouTube. James C. Lovett, 2 T's at the end of Lovett. All right, Doc, you want to tell us about who you are and what you're about and what you're going to teach us?
Well, basically, I am what you might call a subversive. That's what I was called by one of my professors. I like freedom and I like peace. And I know that your audience does also. So I always fight for that. And I grew up partially in Detroit. Then we moved to Atlanta. And I didn't know it then, but I have this aversion for injustice. So the things that happened to me all the way through school, where I was fighting against some kind of injustice, culminated when I got my job at the IRS and realized that they are misapplying the income tax. So actually, I didn't realize that until after I left. But I left because I just had this feeling. You know how you feel some kind of way, something's not right. What I learned before I left was that what they were doing wasn't being applied equally. So mom and pop were getting audited, which I was an agent. I audited people. They were getting audited and they couldn't hire an attorney to help them. So sometimes they didn't know to fight for their deductions and they would end up paying back thousands and thousands of dollars. However, the medium-sized to large corporations would get these high-powered attorneys and CPAs, and they would actually intimidate most of the IRS agents, which they didn't intimidate me because I was a CPA back then. But they would get, these settlements for like a fourth of what was really the tax. So that was a continuation to me in my mind that the rich keep getting richer and the poor and middle class continue to suffer. And I just didn't stand for that. So when I left, I started hearing from people like you, Floyd, that the income tax was being misrepresented and misapplied. And I eventually did the research, figured that out, and started talking about it, started showing the people what I was finding, got together with other former IRS agents like Joe Bannister and John Turner and some attorneys. And then Aaron Russo came along. Aaron Russo is a movie producer that produced Trading Places with Eddie Murphy and The Rose with Bette Midler. He decided to do a documentary about the income tax called America, Freedom to Fascism. Now that came out in maybe around 2004, a little bit after that. But the IRS just got sick of me being on the stages all over the country telling people to do their own research. And they raided my house in July of 2004 I got there like at 7 something in the morning, stayed there till 4:45 quitting time, and they took about 40 some odd boxes with them, and they combed through those boxes and they did interviews with people. Unbeknownst to me what they were doing, I found out later, but they just couldn't find any felony to pin on me. So what they ended up doing is saying, oh, we don't have anything on her besides the fact that she practices what she preaches and she keeps her money, so she's not filing any tax returns. And that's what they had to use. It's a misdemeanor. So they did not indict me. It's called an information. When someone is not being indicted because of a felony, then they have to use what's called an information. And they dragged me into court. Yeah. There were some things that I started to try, but decided that that was going to make all of us look kind of dumb. So I got a 4-year sentence on a misdemeanor charge of willful failure to file tax returns. And at sentencing, it was clear about what I was being jailed for or put in prison for, because it wasn't jail. Originally, it was jail for a little while, but it was prison. The judge said, and I'm going to say it in her voice because I still can hear her voice ringing out. She said, I know you homeschool your children, Miss Jackson, and I know you got a lot of family support, but you can't run around the country telling people not to file income tax returns. And I looked her dead in the eye and I said, I've never done that, because I hadn't. I never told people what to do or what not to do. I just shared information. And that was dangerous to them, more dangerous than the rappers that were getting caught and let out on home arrest and then getting caught after that with firearms and still getting a slap on the wrist. They put a Christian homeschooling mother in prison on a misdemeanor charge. Now, if I wasn't telling the truth or I wasn't dangerous to them, I don't think that would happen. At any rate, I got out and, continued on my quest to help people. I help people keep, protect, and grow what they earn. I do it differently now. So instead of, I don't wish prison on anybody. It's aside from being away from your family, it's degrading in a lot of ways. So I teach people how to starve the beast as opposed to trying to cut the head off the beast. We don't want to go in, slinging guns and saying, oh, we're not supposed to. And it's true. It didn't change the truth. People ask me, well, now that you had this sentence and everything, what do you believe now? I believe the same thing, because truth is truth for everybody, or it's not truth at all. That doesn't change. What changes is how we handle what we know. So helping people starve the beast, helping people to take control of their finances, helping people to understand what's going on in finance, in government, geopolitically, and all this, so that they can make decisions for themselves and their family. The elite think that a lot of people are too stupid to make these decisions. We're not. We just need to be informed. And so I'm one of those people that informs, Floyd.
All right. Wow. That's an introduction. Quite the adventure.
Yeah.
So how long were you with the IRS?
I was with them for 7.5 years. I started out, I had a CPA firm job. I worked at a CPA firm, got my CPA. I got out and worked in corporate America and realized that I didn't want to be there because it's so corrupt. It's not about what you know. It's about who you know and what you do with who you know. And I didn't want to stay in that environment. So I looked in the paper one day and saw the ad for Internal Revenue Agent. And since I did pretty well in math, I took the job, and I thought it was the best job that I ever had before I knew what I was doing, because I didn't have to depend on an assembly line of other people doing reports before I got my report done, which was what was happening in corporate America. So I would get cases, I would work the cases, come back, either the people owed more or they didn't, and that was it. But towards the end of my career, I started seeing some things like what I told you before. There was a particular case, though. After I had this older man, he had to be like really close to 80. He was still trying to work, and he had made a mistake and left off $13,000, a $13,000 1099, and I wanted to help him. It's like, what can I do to help him not have to pay $3,000 or $4,000, because that would have been devastating. And there was nothing I could do. It's like, you owe this money, and I think I did something with the penalties. I was able to help take the penalties off because I genuinely believe that he made a mistake and left the money off. Then, shortly thereafter, I audited this company, and they have like over $100,000 that they didn't put on the tax return. And, I caught it. I put that in the report, and they appealed it. They had an attorney that was in charge of their appeal. So what the protocol was supposed to be is I turned the case in, and then, and this was back then, I don't know what they do now. After I turn the case in, if they're going to appeal the case, they then go to the attorney, they turn the appeal in, and the appeal comes back to me for rebuttal. Okay, that was the normal thing. And then I would rebut whatever their attorney said. So one day I was walking past the secretary's desk in my office, and I saw that case on her desk, and I'm thinking, oh, I turned this case in like 6 months ago. Why is it still here? So I picked it up off of her desk and realized that case had been settled without my rebuttal. Oh, wow. So I went to my manager and I said, Mike, what's going on here? I was supposed to have been able to, go over this case, because it was a particularly kind of rude company. They were really rude to me. So I was like, I was supposed to be able to look at what the attorney wrote so that I could rebut whatever the attorney wrote. And then my manager looked at me and he said, Sherry, leave it. That's what happened. So, that was that situation or that time where I realized that they're not treating everybody equally. They'll say that the IRS is a equal opportunity destroyer. Well, no, they do have favorites. As a matter of fact, Floyd, I was told by an attorney long after that yeah, they like to make a lot of deals. They will make a deal. And he said one deal he remembers is that they were trying to settle a case for a company, and the IRS person, which was the IRS lawyer, said, okay, I'll come down to your number if you can get me a date with the big breasted woman at the secretary's desk on the second floor. So these are the things that happen. And then poor mom and pop, devastated. So what I do now is I help people. There are a lot of, you see what's going on geopolitically, but in our country, we're having an influx of people that haven't done anything come in and get all these benefits and stuff. And our companies, our small businesses are the backbone of this country, but they're struggling right now because of all of the circumstances that they've been put in. Also, the six-figure employees are shaking in their boots because the pink slips are coming. I don't know if you pay attention to all of the layoffs. Walmart, UPS, all these people are just laying off, and who they're laying off is the middle management and those in the middle that aren't really going out. Now, they're not going to really fire the people that are actually in the trucks or at the store, but the middle management. So I help them transition out of being totally dependent on a W-2 and start a home-based business. And I help home-based businesses that are struggling. I help them to scale.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Right here. Let me set this. I want to know if you're familiar with this form right here. $1098F.
I usually don't know them by number. Fines, penalties, and other amounts. I think that may have been something that I had to research when I was trying to help not put penalties on that man.
All right.
I just learned about the comments over here. It popped up after you said something, and then comments came up. So hi, Fred. Oh, yeah. I see Fred in the house. Hi. Who must file? Okay, is this a part of the
This is
the
the
form?
this is
Okay.
the instructions for the form,
Okay.
and it has mandatory language in here.
Yeah.
So the gist of this is that it has to be filed if there's any violation of the law or the investigation or inquiry into the potential violation of the law. The aggregate amount involved in all suits, orders, agreements equals or exceeds the amount determined by the secretary, threshold amount. The amount required to be paid includes the cost to provide services or to provide property. And a separate form must be filed with respect to each payer that is a party to the suit, order, or agreement.
Okay.
So for you, because there was a violation of the law or an investigation or an inquiry, so the parties, government or governmental entity, including a non-governmental entity treated as a governmental entity, must file the 1098-F, fines, penalties, and others amounts. The form, the amount required to be paid pursuant to the court order or agreement with respect to any violation of the law. And there you go. That's the mandatory language.
So I want to share something with you in the audience. These people do not care about the law. They do not care what these forms say they're supposed to do. That's the main problem. If they were to follow what the law really says, we would not be in this situation. I have seen some egregious stuff go on that was not supposed to happen because they didn't follow the law. I have had friends dragged out of their house after they filed paperwork and dotted every I and crossed every T. So it's like the bully who says, who's going to stop me? And that's the question. Who is going to stop them?
Right.
The judges aren't. Now look at the judge. And the curious thing about the judge, when she sentenced me, I take that back. Let's go back. The sentencing was on a different day. But at the end of the trial, when the jury came back in with guilty for willful failure to file tax returns, after not deliberating 30 minutes, there was one of my supporters that came back to us and said he had been profiling the jury. He was walking behind them or close to them. And when they went into the deliberation room, the bailiff, before he closed the door, stuck his head in the door and told them, if I gotta pay, she gotta pay. And he closed the door. There was nothing we could do about that because that was, my supporter's word against the bailiff. But this is how things go. And when the verdict came down, guilty on the counts, 4 counts of willful failure to file, which were a misdemeanor, the judge got up and left. She said nothing. She got up out of her seat and she left. And everybody says they've never heard of anything like that. Nothing. So
Wow.
they, so what I teach people to do is, look, 95% of people are not going to try to buck the system. They have been successful in their campaign to make people afraid of the IRS. They have been successful. Unfortunately, I have had people tell me to my face, I don't care what the law says, Sherry. I care what the IRS can do to me. And I really think that's the consensus of most Americans. So as opposed to trying to go at them with the law that they don't follow, we try to cut the head off the beast by saying, okay, I'm going to be in this system. Just like all of these wealthy people and the senators and the congressmen and all that, we're going to file, but we're going to find out what they're doing so that they won't pay. We're going to find out what the corporations are doing because corporations don't pay taxes. So cutting the head off the beast is out, starving the beast is in. When you have a business, because the tax code is written for businesses, you can write off just about everything, everything but the kitchen sink. So my clients are being successful in starting home-based businesses or producing some other stream of income and making sure that they keep it, protect it, and then grow it. I think that's the winner here, because the time and energy that it takes for you to fight these people, you could be using that energy to make more money and keep it. and make sure your family's taken care of, because we're about to come in some hard times. Floyd, you know what's about to happen. This is election season, and I know you've studied what happens right after the election, and I think some stuff is going to be happening before the election. There was even a rumor at one point that we weren't having an election, and this is unprecedented because in the middle of a campaign, the skin suit Joe Biden goes out, and then they put Rush Kamala in, and then nobody voted on her.
Yeah,
Floyd,
nobody.
Who voted for her?
She didn't even make the freaking Democratic primaries.
He would not have, and that's why this was done. So all of this, we're turning into like a banana republic, because this is the stuff you used to hear for years in other countries where, you know, the other candidate just, you know, got no votes or a few votes. That's what happened in this election. I heard someone say that in the last election, Joe Biden got more votes than any other president ever. And I know that that couldn't be. I live here in the Atlanta area, and they have videotape of people after hours pulling suitcases from under tables. So all of this stuff to me, now, mind you, I don't vote because my belief is that changing the players without changing the game is an act in futility. Nothing has changed in the last 70 decades, especially for Black folks. Nothing has changed for the better. So whether there's a Democrat or a Republican in the office, things are still the same. We still have a high drug rate. The teen pregnancy rate is skyrocketing. None of this stuff is being changed. These people are acting like they're different in your face, but then behind closed doors, they're partying together and backslapping each other and working together for the betterment of themselves. So those of us that are sheeple to them are being distracted away from the real problem, which is they're closing us in to a sheeple corral. And that's what they want you to see, that this person does this and this person is this, all of that stuff. They don't care about you. We have to care about our families, and we have to care about each other, because in the bottom line, they're going to be off on their island somewhere. You know, they have islands. Oprah has an island, and all these other senators and congressmen, they have bunkers, and you know, people like Ted Turner's got like thousands of acres in Montana. All of these people have their security, and they're leaving us here like the sitting ducks. So no, I'm not going to feed into that system. Now, I'm not saying that the system doesn't work on a local level, like for your local commissioners and all that. It may work, but this whole thing with the presidency, I've been knowing for a long time that it's a game, and I don't play games. I don't like kabuki dances. I don't like shadow boxing, and that's what this is. So my concentration needs to be on making sure that myself, my family, you and your family, all of us regular old American people are okay. Forget about all of this race baiting stuff. I don't care whether you're black, white, green, blue, pink with polka dots. All our blood is red. And these people up there are trying to keep us down here, and not on my watch. So all of us need to get educated about what's really going on with our finances and act accordingly. There are some things that we can do that we won't get in trouble for because they're doing it. So what did Donald Trump say when Hillary said during that 2016 debate? She comes out and says, Donald Trump didn't pay his taxes. And everybody says, and people were calling me like, oh, did you hear Donald Trump didn't pay his taxes? And I was like, no, because I don't watch TV either. I haven't watched television in ages. I call the television the electronic income reducer and the electronic intellect reducer. So I went on YouTube and I found the video. And right after she did that, Donald Trump said, I'm a smart man. Well, yeah, you think? He's a smart man. He does things. He has accountants, CPAs, and attorneys to help him to figure out how to keep what he earns. Yes. So that's the thing. That's what we want to do. We want to make sure that our families are protected. There are people that I listen to on YouTube. They have purchased land in the hills of Tennessee, or they got 40 acres somewhere in the middle of Texas, and those kinds of things. we don't have that kind of money. If we don't have that kind of money, we need to figure out a plan for ourselves and our family. So you need to learn how to keep what you earn, protect it, and grow it. And then don't get caught up in these people's trap.
Yeah, they are laying a trap for us. Got a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Right wing. Oh, no, it's the wrong one. Where'd it go? Here we go. Travis, what are your thoughts on the authority of the IRS now after the Chevron case?
I did look at that slightly, but again, I don't spend a lot of time on it. I don't know the gist of it. I looked at some of the facts of it, and then I had to move on to something else. But what I said way back in the day was I carried a badge. I think I still have that badge somewhere. It had administrative authority, sir. It had administrative and not enforcement authority.
Ah, okay. So, do you understand the holding in Chevron?
No, I don't. I did, like I said, I looked at it for briefly. Okay. Somebody sent it to me. I looked at it, and then I had to move on.
I'll give you the nutshell.
Yes, please.
Basically, what Chevron did is some of these departments, agencies, and bureaus in the federal government have taken laws and then created policies based on the law because of the law's ambiguity, the way it's written, because it's written by attorneys for a reason. So they expand upon that and give more power and authority to the agency, bureau, or department than the law allows. Yes. So the Supreme Court went back and said, hey, if congressional intent was to create the law that way, then it's up to Congress to refine the law. It's up to courts to interpret the law. And the agencies, department, and bureau, they cannot interpret the law or enact law or expand upon the law that exists. So that's what they've basically done, stripped all their authority and power away.
Okay. So that sounds like a good thing to me, that they don't, just willy-nilly be able to make these things up, because all of that stuff is really ambiguous. And before I forget about it, I don't know if any of your listeners know about Tommy Cryer. Tommy Cryer was an attorney based out of Shreveport, Louisiana. And back in the early 2000s, they found that he hadn't paid or filed income taxes for 10 or so years. So they took him to court a little bit before they took me to court. So this was like 2006 or 2007. Tommy Cryer won his case. As an attorney, he came before them with a 109-page memorandum. And in this memorandum were a whole bunch of court cases. They were Supreme Court cases that basically said income is corporate profits. So to put it in a very simple manner, which is the way that I explain it to people who aren't familiar with the subject, is, let's say, Floyd, you have a pretty big corner lot, and that's where you live, and you contract with me to cut your front and backyard grass, okay? Mm-hmm. So we agree that I'm going to do that today for $100. So I use my arms, my legs, and my brain, and I do a great job on cutting your grass. I use my life force to cut your grass. In exchange for my life force, you give me $100. That's not to be taxed. Now let's move over to the smallest Walmart in the country. Let's say yesterday, the smallest Walmart earned $100,000. Well, they have expenses. They have to pay salaries. They probably have rent, utilities, and all that. Let's say all of their expenses added up to $60,000. Corporate profit in this case is $40,000. They're not paying tax on the $100,000. They're paying tax on the $40,000, and that's the corporate profit. And they have the right to reduce that corporate profit by having more expenses. And that's the art of what a good CPA or consultant will do. So here we are, we're paying tax on the whole $100. They don't think anything of our life force. We're worth nothing. What did Yuval Harari call us? Useless eaters. We're useless eaters. So they want the whole money. And that's the tragedy of the situation.
Right. Absolutely.
So I agree that the whole thing is really egregious, and we need to be keeping our own money so that we can produce. The Constitution says we hold these truths to be self-evident, and that all men are created equal with certain unalienable rights: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I have God-given unalienable. You can't put a lien on my rights. So you're taking away my rights by force right now, by threat of injury, I was very much injured. Not only did I lose a tooth, but I was away from my family. All of these things, the ways I was injured for trying to protect my freedom. This is what we want to avoid. So the people who don't want to go at it that way, they have options.
Right. All right. Got another question. Is the Treasury or is the IRS being absorbed into the Treasury, or has it?
It should be, but no, I haven't heard anything like that. I have been doing YouTube lives on the Project 2025. That Project 2025 is something that the Heritage Foundation put together that they want the next Republican president to enact. And it basically, surprise to me, they want to abolish the IRS and the Fed. So these things have come up over the years. You know, there was Congress, like Ron Paul with Dr. No. All of these things have come up. Let's get rid of the IRS. No, it's always the Senate or somebody higher that quashes everything that's going to help us.
Right. Yeah. They have to keep the gravy train rolling.
Yes, that's unfortunate. So they keep their power by keeping their foot on us.
Absolutely. Boot on the neck. Fed Up Patriot says when they paid taxes this year that my check couldn't be to the IRS. It was made payable to the Department of Treasury.
Right. That's who it's paid for. And my paycheck when I was an IRS agent came from the Department of Agriculture. Explain that one. Yes, because things cannot be just black and white because the whole thing is crooked. Yes, all those years, my check came from the Department of Agriculture. Yes, sir.
I think people would be really surprised how much authority and what is really under the Department of Agriculture, because I think we are all under the Department of Agriculture.
There's something to that needs to be researched. There's something to that needs to be researched. Somebody called me some years ago and asked me, was it true that my checks were from the Department of Agriculture? And I was able to, I don't think I have any checks from way back then anymore. If I do, they're somewhere in a shed, but yeah, they were.
Wow.
Right wing, left wing, right wing, left wing, same bird.
Yeah, so, yeah, absolutely.
We have
two sides of the
to
same
get
coin.
up from up under their feet.
Right. So do you want to go through your webpage and show everybody what you offer as far as classes and books, educational material?
Yeah, I mean, not really, because people have different needs. But what I did want to talk about now is that I have started, it has become, after the pandemic, it has become clear that we can teach people and they don't have to come to our town. So I used to speak a lot around the country, and I love to travel. I love speaking, but 2020, I had to cancel 6 flights. And so now people have gotten used to being at home. So what I have and what I'll share with your audience is something that I don't share a lot. I have what's called the Escape the Rat Race Challenge. So the Escape the Rat Race Challenge is 3 days with me. So you have 3 levels that you can join at. And for this particular podcast, if you go to escapetheratracechallenge.com, then you'll have the ability to sign up and get a deep discount on the platinum level, which is where you get the teaching for an hour, but then you get to ask me questions. So you're getting consulting without having to pay my consulting fees, which are not cheap. I have my lowest consulting is $497 for, an hour or so. But yeah, I'm going to be talking about ways that we can escape the rat race, ways that we can make money, ways that we can save it, keep it, protect it, grow it. And in the Escape the Rat Race Challenge, I'm doing the next one's coming up really soon. And then I'm planning on being able to do these on a regular basis, because just like when you're flying to, let's say, flying to Dallas and you're speaking and there are 50 people in the room, it's easier for you to stay home. Like right now, you have people in the audience. You're home, they're home. They can take notes. They have homework. I will be giving homework, lots of homework. Well, not lots of homework, not like school. But anyway, my challenges are on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday nights. And they are at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. So I'm over here on the East Coast. I'm about 15 miles east of downtown Atlanta. And they will be, I'm going to do them monthly, not every month, because some months I'm just going to be out of the country. But yeah, I'm going to teach people, because people need to know. Now, a lot of people say, well, can you give it to us free? All of my free stuff is on YouTube. So you can go and find a lot of teaching on YouTube, but I have to make a living too. And so the easiest way, or the biggest bang for your buck, is to join the challenge for less than my lowest package, which is less than $4.97. If you take the if you go to the link and you get in soon, you can do that. And then I'll be teaching for 3 days straight, because we need to know this. I've taken the time out. I've got grandchildren. I take these days out once per month so that I can make sure that you all get the education that you need, because I don't know how long we have, Floyd. There's so many different things that I've been hearing. And because of who I am, people still talk to me. I have gotten people in the military and others that call me and share things with me. And I'm thinking that hopefully we have until let's say next April, before the excrement hits the portable pooling device. But regardless, we can't judge when it's going to happen, but we need to get prepared.
Absolutely. So what's preparation look like for you?
Preparation for me looks like, first of all, my plan A and my plan B. Plan A, I have a home here in Stone Mountain, Georgia. I have supplies. I have in the front yard a peach tree. In the backyard, I have 2 SUV-sized raised bed gardens. I have a fig tree, 2 apple trees, 8 blackberry bushes, 2 blueberry bushes, a pecan tree, and a pomegranate tree, and a whole bunch of herbs around my large tree. Okay. Also, in my kitchen, when I look up there, I have what's called an aerial garden, and you plant things inside and you use water. It's almost like aquaponics, but I grow kale. I love kale. I grow kale in the kitchen, and I grow kale outside, when it's almost that times, because I like collard greens, kale, and cabbage in the wintertime. And then in the summer, I plant other things. So that's plan A, is to be okay right here with all my supplies and my puppies. Because one of the things, and I like Catherine Austin Fitz, and we were in Cancun speaking at a conference, and then we went into breakout rooms, and I didn't have to speak at the time. So I went in her breakout room, and she was with one of the other guys, and somebody was really smug, and they said something like, well, I'm going to be okay because I live about 60 miles from the city, and I have a lake on my property, and I have this and I have that. It was a guy. And then she was looking at him while he was talking and shaking her head. And then she said something that made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. She said, sir, I realize you have all that and you think you're okay. But as long as your neighbor is hungry, you're not safe. And that just blew me away, because you think about it. It's like you do all this preparation, and, if people around you are not in the same mindset, then you could be in some trouble. That's why a lot of the people that I listen to that have means, they'll go and they'll get way out rural somewhere with 40 acres. Or one of the ladies said she had a mountain that she was way off somewhere where you'd never find her. They were so far remote from anything else. So those are the things, the plan A. Now, let's switch over to plan B. The United States is one of the most hated countries on the planet right now. And there are a lot of things that could happen, and there are a lot of things that have been happening over the years, and it's escalating. So I watch what the wealthy people do. A lot of them have land and homes in other countries. So I have decided that my plan B is Costa Rica. I have a home and some land, 3 different properties in Costa Rica. And I go down there on the regular. I take people down there that are interested in having a plan B that is not tied to the United States. Some people, they're going to say, I'm going to take my stand right here. My relatives, my forefathers fought for and that's okay. That's you. Do you want to stay here and take a stand? But I fought my battle, and I want at some point or another to be able to relax and have a place where if the grocery stores close, then it's no big deal. In Costa Rica, I will not freeze to death. It's a little warm and you can have air, but even if the air goes out, there's ocean breeze where I am. You will not starve to death. At least 50% of the trees down there have something growing on them that you can eat. I mean, I pass by fruit on the ground and just look at it. If it's been down there too long, you can't pick it up, but coconut falls, a mango fall. I love mangoes, so you're not going to freeze to death. You're not going to starve to death. And there's fish, within maybe 15 minutes of wherever you go. The food is nutrient dense. It's literally from the backyard to the table or from the sea to the table. People, Costa Rica is one of those places where I think it's called the blue zone, where people live long and all that. So I did my research. And I selected Costa Rica. There are a lot of other places that people select. I didn't want to go transatlantic. I didn't want to go across the Atlantic Ocean to other countries. I wanted to stay over here because push come to shove, I or any of my family members can drive straight through Mexico all the way down to Costa Rica. So that's plan B.
Excellent plan. I have myself investigated Costa Rica as a destination. Temperate climate, rarely exceeds 10 degrees either way. Excellent choice, I have to say. What do you think about Puerto Rico?
Puerto Rico is too tied into the United States. I'm just, and they've had hurricane issues and things. Now, where I am in Costa Rica, it's hot. I'm on the Caribbean coast.
Okay.
So the people in the Central Valley, they have the mild temperatures. And if you don't like the hot, you can't come to the East Coast. But I'm okay because I'm in Atlanta. But no, that wasn't one of my choices. I looked at some of the African countries. I looked at Panama. I was actually selecting it before this whole IRS and prison thing. But yeah, now my heart is in Costa Rica. But that's what I'm doing. And at the same time, teaching people how they can do these things. So you got to have money to do stuff, and people have different skill sets. And that's what I talk about in the Escape the Rat Race Challenge, and how to use your skill sets. Not going to college. College is a waste of time unless you're going to get something that's licensed. You want to be a doctor, you want to be a lawyer, you want to be a CPA or something, engineer. You got to have a license for those. You have to go to school. But I've seen where people that have master's degrees are tellers at a bank right next to somebody with their GED.
Or driving an Uber.
It's worthless. It's a worthless piece of paper. A lot of times, a lot of the people that I know that graduated from college aren't even working in the field. Most of them aren't even working in the field that their degrees in. So absolutely. It's another money trap. Just like the housing market happened in 2008. Now, you've got the college bubble and all these student loans. I know people with 6-figure student loans.
That's insane.
And it is insane. And these colleges are, it's inflated. And so that somebody can get rich. So there are a lot of different systemic problems that we have. And the medical situation is a disaster that, trying to kill us with all the pharmaceuticals. So all around you have all of this adversity. And then you have to figure out how you tunnel a way through it, get over those hurdles, and make sure that you're okay. Because in the end, I don't want to succumb to somebody else's plan. And if I don't make my own plan, that's what's going to happen. So I have to make my own way, or somebody's going to make a way for me that I don't want.
Right. Exactly. Wow. That's a great story there. And yeah, I'm glad you have a plan plan A and plan B, and then you were able to share it with everybody because
yeah.
I keep expressing to these people, man, be prepared because, you know, as you know, a tornado came through here in May in Houston.
Okay, yes, you're in Houston. Okay, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm in Northwest Houston. The tornado went like right past my house. I actually opened my door and I could hear the freight train sound.
Oh, really? Ooh,
Oh,
that's
absolutely.
scary.
Yeah, yeah.
Scary.
So I was like, oh man, this is a for real tornado because it just turned black almost instantly. I was doing a video and I was like looking out my window. I was like, oh, sun's shining. And I glanced up and it was because I see a tornado warning over here in my little taskbar. And I'm like, tornado warning. And I look back out and it's starting to get dark. And I'm like, man, they must be talking about somewhere else. So I kept doing the video and I look and it's black. And then my lights flash. I lose the connection. I'm like, what the hell is going on? So I walk outside, open my door, and I can hear that freight train roar. I mean, it's once you hear it, you know exactly what it is.
Yeah, I've not been through one before. I have been through an earthquake, and that was in Costa Rica. They do have earthquakes there, not a lot. In the Central Valley, they do, but it was short and intense. But no big deal.
Yep,
Yeah.
I was 5 days without electricity then.
Wow.
And then we had a hurricane come through here, the same exact path, Sherry. Same exact path. I was again without electricity for 5 days. Well, I've already done my 10 days of darkness.
Yeah, you have. Yeah, and I wonder sometimes, are these really natural disasters or are they HARP imposed disasters? But I don't think we'll ever know.
Oh no, they are designed. There's no way. I mean, that matter of fact, I posted it yesterday that they discovered that another tornado had touched down that they weren't even aware about. They just found this out yesterday when they went back and looked at the stuff. That's 2 months later.
Wow.
So yeah, that's why I tell everybody be prepared because the electricity was off in for miles in every direction. People who had generators, I could hear them run out of gas and then, all day long they'd be gone because they're out looking for an open gas station to get more gas. No ATMs. Yeah. So I tell everybody, you need some bartering material. You need low denomination cash money, a lot of it. Because when it happens, the only person's your friend is yourself.
Exactly. You and yours and your family. And I like when you were talking about low denominations of cash, and I like hard assets. So I don't have any IRAs, 401ks, or mutual funds or anything like that. I invest in silver, gold, and real estate. Something I can hold in my hand or put up under my feet. And there's a family out of Tennessee, Franklin Sanders. He was one of the first people that got persecuted by these folks, but they have a company called Volunteer Precious Metals, and they have great prices. And I'll just call them and say, hey, what do you got? And they have gold and silver.
What, baby girl? You need to go outside?
Oh, you got you
yeah,
take
let me take my outside for a second.
Yeah.
Here and beat me up.
Okay, well, we're going to take a break. I'm going to get some water because I forgot to bring some down here.
And LeFlore for you guys. How you doing, Ann?
Oh, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm fantastic. You want to say hello, everybody?
Hi, guys. Welcome to Floyd's noon show.
All right, that's just a repeat from the old one. Cranked it back up. Hey, would you like to go on Mark Z's show?
Why not?
Okay, I'll hook that up. And we'll get you done on that. Let me go take my dog out, and I'll be right back. Anything you want to say to the audience? Take over.
The lady that was just on is amazing. She really is. I live in an island, and everything she's talking about is absolutely true. We just go out our back door. We pick up our mangoes. We have bananas growing in our yard. Even in our river, I have banana trees and a mango tree in my river that I can just go and take food from. We have all kinds of farmers around here. They bring fresh vegetables to the store. We have a market in Tahiti called the Mache. We go there and just buy all our food fresh. Fish comes in daily. Yeah, she's right. You guys need to live in a place and have a plan B. All these things that are happening, I see the prices here. The market is just so outraged. And it's cheaper to go and buy fish and fresh vegetables and pick your fruit off your trees in your yard than it is to try to buy the food that's in the markets. It's crazy right now what's going on. I was in America in January and I was just really shocked at how bad it is over there. And the prices were not so bad, but it just seemed like everybody was so angry. And we encountered a couple people that were really ridiculous with road rage on the cars. I was just really shocked. You're driving the speed limit and somebody comes up in front of you, pulls in front of you and just stops their car. And it's like you just barely get a chance to stop before you hit them. I was so happy to get out of America. And when I left America, I was even more shocked because it'd been 5 or 6 years since I'd been to America. And I got into the airport. It was super easy to check in. But then my plane or where I had to go was like, I mean, swear to God, 5 miles, in another place. It was insane. When I got there, they have all these electronic barriers that open and close. And even to get on the plane, they're announcing facial recognition to open the barrier to get on your plane. And I'm like, what? I swear. And people are just like you said, sheepy, just running right through the barriers, Oh, okay, we'll put our ticket here on the bottom and we'll show our face. And I'm just like looking like this, try not to show my face. And the thing wouldn't even open. It was so ridiculous.
Wow.
And I mean, I'm lucky. I am American and French. So I do carry 2 passports. So I didn't want anybody to know I was an American when I left there. Because I live in both countries, or I haven't lived in America in 30 years, but I do live in, the French country. I live in French Polynesia. So literally when I checked through the airport, they didn't even ask me for my American passport. They didn't ask me for anything like that. Normally they do. Normally I have to give both my passports to get out of there and both to get in, but not this time. I just had to give my American one to get in and my French one to get out. So I was lucky. So, my ticket says I'm French Polynesian. So at least when I put it on, they're not scanning me as American.
Right. Ann, have you ever met Dr. Sherry Peel, Ann?
No, I haven't. I've been listening to you for about a half an hour.
Yeah. Let me introduce you. This is Ann LeFlore from, I'm sure you heard of Bonds for the Win. Doctor.
Okay. I have not, but yes, nice to meet you, Ann.
Yeah, she's the other half. Nikki Flynn was the face, and Ann was the backbone and the researcher behind it. Dr. Sherry Peel is a former IRS agent, CPA educator, international and domestic real estate investor, and ex-con.
That's right.
Well, I'm an ex or whatever federal government employee. I worked for the government in the United States for a number of years. I came here with a contract because I was setting up the internet. And I had all the qualifications. When I arrived here 30 years ago in Tahiti, there wasn't a person who knew what a computer was. I arrived with a laptop and a portable printer, and everyone's like, what's that? And I go, it's a computer. Well, what's a computer? Right. No cell phones, no nothing here. I mean, it was an amazing adventure. And, it took 2 years to set up the internet here in Tahiti. And then I was going to head somewhere else and do something else. And the government says, no, you're not. I'm like, okay, what do you want me to do? So literally, I opened my own business. And I started building computers and installing networks in buildings and in people's homes. What they call purifidics is, logicials or programs. I would, put them in the computer. I would load all their Windows software into it. I would make sure that I could get all the drivers, and everything to interface with all their equipment. And then I started doing data recovery. Yeah. So, I mean, the first, 10 years here, I was making $15,000 to $20,000 a month building computers.
Wow.
Yeah. But I was working 7 days a week, extremely long hours, extremely long hours. Yeah.
That's a bit much. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we want a quality of life. So, we learn how to scale things back and relax. And, there are certain places that you have to relax, like Tahiti. I don't see why. You can't get, it's not like New York.
Let me tell you, what I would do is I made my own schedules because I would deplace to people's homes. And somebody would call and say, can you come tomorrow? Oh my God, I'm so busy. I'm not going to be able to get to you till Friday. Is that okay? Because I take 2 days off and go fishing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what we want to be able to do. And the freedoms that we're supposed to have that a lot of people are looking for, some people have discovered that it's just not here in the States. So, I mean, the ones that think it is and they're making it happen for them, that's fine. So I don't knock them for, wanting to stay here. And I don't, I expect people to just not be upset when some of us decide that we're going to go elsewhere.
Exactly. And right now, when I turned 60, so what they did is they said, okay, you're 60, you need to make your retirement. I'm like, what am I going to do? I'm not the person to want to sit on the beach 24/7, Mm-hmm. So I took my retirement and then I started helping people. And I started with the Bonds for the Win. And then afterwards, I met Floyd. He was doing, I don't know how I got on his Telegram channel. It was an amazing adventure. And I saw one morning, it was like 5:30, 6 o'clock my time. I'm sitting there having coffee. And I see, the Fearless Floyd show, and they have they're online or they're on the air. So I said, oh my God, what is this thing? So I just hit on it and joined. And I met Floyd and I started talking about Bonds for the Win. And I think Pastor of the Way was on at that time. And then everybody started asking me questions about the bonds, this, that, and everything else. And it was just, one thing led to another. And then Floyd and I started, teaching trust classes. And I started doing some private consultations. And I met some fantastic, amazing people. And I'm not a lawyer. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I met one man who lives in Maryland, and he was a naturalized citizen. So they went after him because he hadn't paid his taxes in 10 years. And literally he won the first case through the IRS, through the court system or something. They dismissed everything. They couldn't do anything. So they came back after him 5 years later. And it was just to prove a point that you can, do whatever you want to somebody because of their different nationality or the color of their skin. And that's the way I feel. And I was just really shocked, that they railroaded this man. Anything you did in the courtroom, the judge denied it. They did some horrendous things to this poor guy. So they did find him guilty at the end. But what happened was an amazing adventure. I took and I put together his whole entire court case, and I filed it with 16 or 17 agencies, and they reviewed it. The day they were supposed to sentence him to go to jail or do whatever they were going to do, the judge, a federal judge who was nominated and put in that place by Barack Obama, reclused himself and 2 days later resigned. Walked
Wow.
away from the bench. Walked
Wow.
away. Yeah. So his sentencing hearing never took place. It took them a year later to decide to sentence him. And by this time, we had sort of lost track of each other. But in the end, I do believe he ended up with 2 years. He should be getting out sometime in November, which is a total scam.
Yeah.
I mean, it was ridiculous because, we gave all the evidence, but, he couldn't talk in court. He wanted to represent himself. And, English is a second language. And he didn't have much education when he came to America. He came at the age of 17. So he only had maybe 2 years of schooling to learn English, to read and write and everything else. And the funny thing was, the reason they put him as an example is he worked for Homeland Security as a security guard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I met another man who lives in Tarrant, Texas. Literally, he was railroaded because of the color of his skin. His name was LeFlore Eugene Lockhart. I love this man's name. I just love this man's name. He was the most beautiful person I have ever talked to. He used to just call me Miss Ann, or Miss LeFlore. And Floyd helped me with him, with his case, because we didn't have any charges against him. But supposedly he was arrested on, 4 or 5 felony charges.
Wow.
And
Something
the
like
felony, the felony charges were concerning real estate and defrauding the elderly and things like this. And the man wasn't even a real estate agent. He had no idea even what was going on.
Wow.
So, yeah. So literally, he wasn't even arraigned or charged. And the first time he ever walked into the courtroom, he had this racist judge. I'm not kidding you. Even on her bio, on her government court bio of the judges, she literally would state, I don't give anybody a chance. They can go to jail, especially if they're of color. He was racist. Really racist. So he's in the courtroom and she says, how do you plead? Or, are you representing yourself? Are you going to be, what is it? What is it called when you represent yourself in the court? Pro se. Yeah, pro se. Okay. And he says, no, Your Honor, I reserve my Sixth Amendment rights to choose a counsel of my choosing, to be in the courtroom with me, to sit next to me, to help me. The judge looked at him and she says, if you say that one more time, I'm locking you away.
Wow.
Literally, seriously. And she literally, it was all on film. I had the whole film of it, everything. His family was in the courtroom. And when it was done, and they literally locked him away because he didn't want to sign her document saying he was going to be pro se, and giving her the jurisdiction over him. So literally, he was surrounded by six judicial of the court, and they put him in handcuffs and they walked him to the back room and they put him in a jail cell. The one bailiff, or the one person, I guess he was a marshal who was in the courtroom, literally came to the guy, handed him the document, and he says, if you don't sign this, you're going to spend the next 180 days in jail, and the judge is going to up it 3 times. So you will spend 18 months in jail because you want to have a representative of your choice.
Yeah.
So basically, he signed it to get out. He signed it. It was coercement. So what we did is I did the same thing. I made a package, and I literally sent it to all of these people in the same situation that I did with the other person. And his next court hearing, he went to the court. he went into the front door because he got a letter. He got an electronic notice on his phone, and he got a letter, and he was super nervous. And I said, just go, I'll be there with you. And he walked in, and he went to go register. And the clerk who was standing there couldn't find his name. It wasn't there. And the sheriff who was there standing next to the clerk as people check in, took him down to the clerk's office. And the clerk could not find a damn thing on this guy. It had been wiped off the books, completely gone.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Right. Well, good enough. Well, Ann, thank you for stopping in. I really appreciate you and the story. I'll get you on Mark Z. I'll get that lined up. Hopefully we can get you on Monday or Tuesday.
Okay, sounds good.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you guys.
No, it's all right. Well, actually, I wanted you to come in right before she came on, but you came on an hour late.
Oh, well, you got to realize you're 5 hours ahead of me.
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm looking at the clock.
I'm a night person, so I don't go to bed till like midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. And, 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock or maybe even 6 o'clock. I'm sitting there trying to wake up with a cup of coffee and just, vegetating. So when you want me on the show, I wouldn't be there.
Right. All right. I'll get with Mark after the show, and I'll send you a link.
Okay, sounds great. Are you going to be on the show?
All right. Thank you, Ann.
You're going to be on the show too?
I doubt it.
Oh, okay.
Just be you and Mark.
Okay, so what's it about? The PMAs, the trust, or what?
No. Well, you'll talk about Bonds for the Win because nobody really knows who you are. Then you can talk about the trust book. You can definitely talk about your humanitarian project. Those three things.
Okay, sounds wonderful.
All right.
Great.
Thanks, Ann.
Okay.
Talk to you later.
Thank you.
All right. When we're back. I didn't mean for her to go so long, but I was actually trying to squeeze her in right before you came on.
Right.
Yeah. Man, then when we took that little break, so popped her in. Thank you again, Ann. All right. It's back to us.
All righty.
So there's a lot going on between now and the election. Definitely the inauguration in January 2025. You went even further out than that, back into March, April 2025?
Right.
What?
That's the quote unquote deadline that someone has mentioned to me as my deadline for getting myself together. In other words, be prepared before April is what I heard. And some people said be prepared before the inauguration, but either way, I'm not, getting panicky over any kind of dates or anything. I'm just continuing to try to prepare, continue to try to get things together, for my family. I have my parents are still alive. So my dad's 80 and my dad's 81 and my mom's 80. And yeah, so I've got work to do, and we don't have time for television. We do have time to make sure that we spend it on things that are going to help us. For example, the shows that I listen to are on YouTube, and there are certain people that are telling us things that are preparing us. I don't watch any sports. I did actually sneak and watch a little bit of the track and field because I ran track through my freshman year in college, and I like track and field. Other than that, I don't watch sports. We just don't have time, Floyd. It's like we don't have time for that. We're making somebody else rich when we watch TV.
Absolutely.
And movies. And I'm not telling people not to decompress. I know people work hard. They work hard and they come home. Let's say if you have a 9 to 5, you come home and you want to decompress for a while. Yeah. So decompress, sit down for a little while, play with your family. If you got little kids, spend some time with your wife, watch maybe, I don't believe in watching the news because it's all so negative. But after you decompress, it's time to get working on whatever it is that you're going to have to sustain your family. I know so many people that come home, they'll eat and they'll sit on the, what do you call those chairs? Those easy chairs, the ones that let out, and at 11 o'clock. Yeah, the lazy boy. That's what it is.
Aptly named.
Boy, and then the television is watching them, and then they finally just get up 11 or 12 o'clock at night. They'll get up out of the lazy boy and go get in the bed, and then start that whole cycle over. And that's not really, that's where they want us. We want to figure out how to get out of the rat race. That's what I call the rat race. You get up in the morning, you know, the alarm clock, you turn off the alarm clock, you run, and, you know, go get breathed on by the boss and all that. You come home, you're tired, you know, eat something, you watch TV or a movie, or some people watch these series and they're just as bad as the soap operas from back in the day. And then, you know, you go to bed and you rinse and repeat. And then on the weekend, you get paid, you go to the mall, you spend all your money on all these high clothes and all these kinds of things. You go to the movies, you spend what, $100 at the movies, and then you pay your little bills and you're broke. That's not a life. That's just not a life. And it's not a life. That's not a life that they're living. You have CEOs, Floyd, that make more in a day than a whole bunch of people make in a whole year. They're not having to go through that. So why is it that we're settling for that? We can't settle for that.
I agree with you 110% on all of what you've just said. It's insane what we've allowed to occur and what we allow to happen every single day. I'm just appalled at how inept the American people are about holding accountable the people that we need to hold accountable. I mean, we should all be circling Washington, D.C. with torches and pitchforks and hold these Congress people accountable because they have abandoned us. Absolutely 110%.
Yeah, so that we need to vote with our dollars. Alexander Haig, back during the Vietnam War, there was some protests going on, and some reporter stuck a mic in his face and said, "Hey, what do you think about all these protests?" And this is what he said. He said, "Let them protest as long as they pay their taxes." You don't get any kind of, you know, holding up a sign and screaming and hollering is not going to help. It might get you sprayed on because planes flying above might be spraying stuff on you, but what it's going to get you is nothing. What we do with our money and what we do with our time is going to be what changes. You know, why are the same people, Nancy Pelosi and all those, why are they still there? You know, what's going on with your county? What's going on with your city? What's going on in your state? Are you participating in the school system in any way to make sure that the children are being educated and not indoctrinated? What are we doing with our time? So the enemy has made us too busy. We're busy. You know, there's 24 hours in a day, but what you do with your time has been hijacked. Back in the day, houses were pretty inexpensive. The male of the home was working, and like with the June Cleaver, Leave It to Beaver, June, and all those were at home. Well, when women got into the workforce, what did they do? They just jacked up the house prices. I mean, can you see that the goalpost keeps moving? And we have to be able to move and make moves so that we will know where the goalpost is going, because it's not been working out. It's people give up. There are a lot of people that I've talked to, and I talk to a lot of people. They've just given up. They just throw their hands up and say, "There's nothing I can do about it." And then they resolve themselves to living that life that I talked about, where they're just going to work, coming home, rinse, repeat. And on the weekends, they want to go and maybe have to a movie. What are they showing? There's more indoctrination in these movies. So the way to get out of that is to go ahead and start your own business, start your own sources of income, so that you can have the extra funds to start, number one, eating right. When I got to the point where I started discovering about the income tax, I also discovered a lot of other stuff, like the fact that they're trying to kill us with the pharmaceuticals and the food that we eat, all of these things that are being done to harm us. So I don't eat at fast food restaurants. I don't eat vegetable oil. I don't use that when I cook. I don't even allow it in the house. And, you know, those kinds of things. When we get educated, then we learn more. I also learned about, back even before that, about the political system and how these birds, it's one bird with two wings. It's like, what am I wasting my time, you know, stomping for anybody that it's not made any changes. There's certain things that they are just not allowed to do because the president doesn't run the country. I'm sure your audience knows that the president doesn't run the country. Biden sure wasn't running the country, and Bush wasn't running the country either. So once you know these things, it's up to you to decide what you're going to do about them. And because this world runs off of money, you got to learn how to make it. I mean, I don't advocate being a thief or anything like that. So you got to be able to create some kind of wealth by finding what it is that you're good at in the marketplace and sharing that with the marketplace.
Let me ask you this, because I'm surprised nobody has asked this question yet that's watching. Are you invested in any foreign currency?
Foreign currency. I do have some foreign currency. I have foreign currency in my wallet right over here, but invested in it is something different. I do have some cryptocurrency, not a lot, because my motto is not to invest in anything that can disappear in the blink of an eye. China and others, I know for sure they have outlawed Bitcoin, and it's something that gold and silver have been a medium of exchange for over 5,000 years. I can't beat that. Land is the basis for all independence. I can't beat that. So I'm sticking with those.
Right. And the reason I ask about that is because, some of this audience that are watching now are involved in the revaluation or the Great Reset, Great Jubilee, the Nasara Jasara. Do you have any thoughts on that, or?
Yeah, I mean, the prayer is that it comes quickly. And, now that you mention it, I do have dinar and dong and some other stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, I do have.
So what you're preaching is diversity, having eggs in a bunch of different baskets.
You better, because if your basket fails, where are you? You're looking in somebody else's basket, and they got something waiting on you because you're not going in their basket. Like, with here, if something were to happen here, I'm pretty much protected. If somebody comes to my house and they're not coming in the front door by my hand, they're surely not coming to bake cookies. So they're going to have a rude awakening. We just have to make sure that we do what we do, and then we protect what that is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. You've been a wonderful guest with wonderful information, because you've covered a lot of stuff. You've covered prepping, which I think everybody should find you one or two good preppers on some social media platform. I have one that I follow. Actually, I have two that I follow. I always try to turn on the videos on my other laptop and watch it on my monitor, listen to it on my monitor while I work, of what these other people are doing to prepare and what you need. Since I've been through it for 5 days in May, 5 days in July, without electricity, internet. The last time my phone was, there are no coincidences. So everything went out, even my phone. And oddly enough, I think it was Monday or Tuesday of this week, I was talking to somebody on my phone with my Bluetooth, on my phone, and my electricity blinked. My modem restarted, but when that happened, my phone conversation went dead for a second. At the same time, I was like, and then I noticed the phone. I was like, what the heck was that?
Right.
So I don't know if they're like coming overhead from the sky doing something, or if they're just targeting me.
There's a lot going on. They could the 5G and all of that. It's just it's not meant to help us. And I'm so fed up with people that are out there doing things that are not meant to help us. I just watched a documentary about the pharmaceuticals and how there was a drug that was created to help cancer, and it was $2,600 a shot. And these people, the test said that it didn't work. And then the guy was saying to the pharmaceutical rep, well, the study said it doesn't work. It's not working. And then the pharmaceutical rep said, when you've got a kid, when you're trying to put a kid through Stanford, and when you're looking at that beachfront property, it is working.
Mm.
So, wow. Yeah. So this is where we are. I want to make sure that people understand that we should stick together, because they've already made a decision about us. We are useless to them.
Yeah, they want.
Yuval Harari says that we need to be entertained with drugs and entertainment, and that all that is Roman bread and circuses reborn. So,
yeah, with
people like him around, and the World Economic Forum and all these other people, with these people around, it's going to take work and a prayer that, you know, this stuff is put off, because I'm praying that it's put off, because I'm not ready yet. I don't have everything in place that I want to have in place, but I'm moving forward. I'm not giving up, and I'm utilizing my time to make sure that not only myself, but my family and others get the information, because as someone said in the chat, you can't make informed decisions if you're being lied to. You can't make informed decisions with information that is wrong, with information that says that you're supposed to stand 6 feet apart, and then it comes out months later that was arbitrary number made up by somebody. You can't trust the media, and you need to research everything that is said if it's something that is pertaining to you. So I don't even, that's why I'm saying I don't even go on the television. You know, there's some things that come up on YouTube, and there's some people that send me stuff. So a lot of my affiliates and my friends will send me an article here or there, and I'll take the time, if it's not too long, to read it, or I'll take the time to watch a video or documentary that's going to help me make decisions about the direction that we need to go. But we got to stop wasting time, Floyd.
Yeah, and time is of the essence for us to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
And I really appreciate the way that you've dedicated your life to helping yourself, helping your family, and helping others. And you've done a lot of thought, a lot of research, and a lot of preparation for what potentially may come, and it may not come. We don't know that. Right. But it's better to be prepared than standing there going, okay, now what am I going to do?
Right.
You're going to be food.
Right. That's, you know, if we don't do something, that's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen.
Yep, absolutely. That's what's going to happen. Can I get you back on a regular basis?
Sure. I mean, you know, there's some things that come up now. All your audience knows all the things that are going on right now. They know they need to watch out. They need to keep their head on a swivel concerning this election and the things that go on surrounding it, and rioting and all these other things that could be happening. But from time to time, there's going to be some more information that they need to know. And so I admonish everybody to get on the Escape the Rat Race Challenge, so they can get that foundational information and get started with creating that life that they really want, as opposed to just running around here, you know, working and living in the earn spend cycle.
Explain that to the audience again, what the Escaping the Rat Race is, for those who just joined.
So there's these people are out here doing challenges, and I'm challenging people to learn how to escape the rat race. If you go to escapetheratracechallenge.com, you'll see a little video of me talking about, you know, how people are losing their jobs and stuff. But it's 3 evenings where they get together from like 7:30 Eastern to 9:30 Eastern. I'll be teaching for an hour. For those who want to stay on at the higher level, they'll be able to ask me questions after it. So you can join at a lower level, and you'll be in like a little Facebook group, and you'll get all the documents, because I give away a whole bunch of documentation. So all that documentation will be there. But the ones who join at the platinum level, the ones who join at the VIP level, get to stay on and listen to the questions that the platinum members have, because it eventually will answer some of their questions. And then the platinum members get to ask questions about all of the stuff that I'm talking about, or anything else concerning, finances and taxes and all that stuff. They get to stay on another hour. So the first hour is from 7:30 to 8:30, then 8:30 to 9:30. And then they have a workbook that it'll come with a workbook and a lot of information in there about different businesses, how to start businesses, what's the quickest way to make money right now. Yeah.
Right.
So Escape the Rat Race Challenge, and the next challenge is coming up pretty soon. So that would be, I believe that it would be a kickstart or a jump start for people who haven't done anything or feel like they haven't done enough yet, to get a whole bunch of information that they don't have to look up, because it'll take, hours and hours, but spending 3 evenings to find out the things that will help you get that jump start for whatever they have coming down the pike for us would be something that I believe that they need to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm going to be teaching people how to make $5,000 a month. And that's just, if they do what I'm teaching, and then if they put it into practice, they'll be able to do that.
All right. Let me hide that. There you go. Try to get the banner going.
You got escapetheRatRaceChallenge.com down there.
I can put that on there.
Just put escapetheRatRaceChallenge.com, so they'll be able to go straight there and get the information about what I'm going to be. It specifically talks about what I'm going to be teaching on those 3 nights, so they'll be ready, and they can even come in with questions in advance that they already have. But escapetheRatRaceChallenge.com is the website. And like I said before, if you get in right now, then there's a discount for those of you that are listening, so that you can not have to pay as much as my hour consultation. These things are I grapple back and forth between how much information I should put out there. And it's like, I want to share these things. And I know I'm not like the SEC withholding information from people, because, the Securities and Exchange Commission has a designation called the accredited investor, and they accredited investor, somebody who has $1 million net worth. And those people get to hear about all kinds of investments and things that those of us who aren't accredited can't hear about. That's another division where the rich keep getting richer because they get the information. But see, I'm that gap in between there. I'm going to tell you the things that I know, because wealthy people come tell me things, and I share these things with other people, and these avenues that you can make money. For example, just the way that you can buy real estate, and the way that you can use your money continuously instead of giving it to the bank and have that over. I think challenge might be the rat race, CHA.
Oh, I did, yeah.
E in there, CHA. Yeah.
You got fat fingers.
Yeah, that happens. But so just a point to note about the situation that's going on right now. So we have been told a long time ago that we have some weapons that have been brought over here a long time ago. And I don't know how often the listeners are paying attention to other news stations, but those weapons have been brought up again. The fact that they're here have been brought up again. I don't know. We have not in the United States had an attack on U.S. soil. Have we ever, Floyd, had an attack on U.S. soil? I'm not considering the Twin Towers. I'm talking about, like a real attack. That was an attack, yes, but I mean a different kind of attack on U.S. soil.
1812.
Okay, see, not in my lifetime, and I'm 61. Oh, yeah. So the point being, my father taught me how to play chess, because he said chess is life. And he taught me to look at moves that other people make and ask, why did they make that move? And we need to be paying attention in a manner of playing chess. Yes. Okay. Somebody brought up Pearl Harbor. Yes. And now we know all these years later that that was planned so that we can get into that situation. But in the modern era, since we've been, let's say, for example, since the 40s, 50s, 60s,
Vietnam War.
No, I mean, no, like that. I mean, attack on U.S. soil, something that,
never happened.
you know, those people can't fathom that kind of thing. And what you have to do as for your family is think about if some kind of disaster happens. I tell you what the good example was. Hurricane Katrina was a great example of the system that I'm talking about. First of all, number one, everybody and their grandmother knew that hurricane was coming. Am I right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Everybody knew. Now, there were people that had financially prepared themselves, and they said to themselves, you know what? Looks like this hurricane is going to hit us head on. Let's pack up everything and drive up to my sister Betty's house in Iowa, let's say. Okay. So they boarded up their houses and they left. And then there were other people that said, you know, I'm gonna stay a few more days, and you know, I don't want to drive all the way across the country or anything. So let me just go over to Arizona and get a hotel or whatever. But then there was a whole group of people, and this is how Yuval Harari sees us. They did not have the wherewithal to go anywhere. They were on public assistance, they were on public transportation, and they were living basically in, you know, public housing. Those people got caught in that hurricane, and then they got moved into that stadium. Now, me being here in Atlanta, I think Atlanta and Houston were two of the top cities that those people were shipped to once that was over. Now, first of all, they decided that was when Bush was president. They took 3 days to get to the people because they were surveying the infrastructure. When the people came to Atlanta, the church that I'm a part of is part of a larger organization. And since the Red Cross wasn't properly serving the people, the Red Cross was literally having those people fill out 8 pages of paper. And somebody finally said, you know, leave there and go over here because they're just giving out stuff. So we rallied, and all these different people from different churches got together and made care packages with soap and deodorant and all that other stuff. But there were also some of the ministers that were inside of the building, and they were there to counsel people. You know, people needed to talk these things out. And when it was all over and we debriefed some of the counselors, I wasn't one of those. I was one of the ones that was passing out the care packages. They were telling us the stories that these people told. And I put this in my head, in the back of my head. When that happened, people lost their ever-loving minds, and they were doing things that they would not do had this not happened. There were people that were taking advantage of young ladies. Maybe it was a young lady down the street that you thought was cute. But then when this happened and everybody got moved into the stadium, you know, people were doing that. People were doing all kinds of things. This is, we start operating on the animal level as a people in a disaster situation. We become a mob mentality, a group of people in disaster situation. These are the things that I want your audience and my audience to know. Just because you've gotten yourself together, you need to prepare for a mob mentality. You need to prepare for people operating on an animal level. Those are the things that you saw that during 2020 when they had all those riots. They were rioting all over the place, and then the lamestream media was calling it protests, and they weren't even talking about it being violent protests. People were hurt, and people lost their lives during that time because just people lost their minds. And it's like, these people are the same people that are out there. I wonder if anybody in your audience saw a series on Netflix, and it was called Revolution. This was a long time ago. I think it was over 10 years ago. what had happened in this series is that the grid had gone down. And the
Oh,
series started where it was 15 years after the grid went down. That was a very telling series, very telling. And I would ask that they go out and find Revolution. I know it's not on Netflix anymore, but it's out there somewhere. Watching that series will tell you what Hollywood has planned for when there's a disaster here.
Revolutions or Revolution?
Just no S on the end of it.
Okay. And it's a
Right.
series on
It's a
Netflix?
series. It was on Netflix. I don't know where it is right now.
I'll go
I
find
don't
it.
know where it is. It could be on. I don't have TV. I
Yeah, I
have
do.
Netflix and I have YouTube, and I know there's something out there called Hulu and other stuff. And I know now that you can stream on other channels and all of that stuff. So they could find it. All you have to do is put in Revolution. It's going to come up. It's going to come up, and then it'll tell you where you could watch it. But that was one of the series that was very interesting in that these demons, they'll tell you what they're going to do before they do it.
Yeah, they have to.
Look at the pandemic. There was a movie that came out. I think it had Dustin Hoffman in it or something. And it was another one. It was a Kevin Spacey where they, So anyway,
I know
really
Outbreak is one of them.
That was one of them, but there was one that was since then that they kind of scraped it, where they literally gave people, they started something. What is that? The Hegelian dialect, where they started something, and then the solution was where when people injected themselves with the solution, that's where the problem was. It was in the solution. Yeah, that was. I think I vaguely I saw the commercial, but I think maybe it was Kevin Spacey. I don't know. It was somebody, and it was some kids, and they were, flabbergasted to find out that everybody got into a panic to go and have this solution, and it was the solution that was carrying the problem. So this movie, whatever it was, and somebody in the chat might know, this movie came before the pandemic. So anyway, this we got to stay alert. That's the bottom line. We got to stay alert, and we have to get our financial house in order, because right now, that's the only way that we're going to be able to protect ourselves and our family. And that's what this is about, making sure. That's my contribution. That's what the value that I bring to the marketplace is to help people be able to survive and thrive, not just survive. We want people to thrive.
Right. Absolutely. Have you ever been to the Superdome in New Orleans?
I have not. I have been to New Orleans, and I've been near it because I stayed downtown in the French Quarter, but I haven't even been in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium here in Atlanta because I have no reason to be down there. I'm not a sports person, and we have to focus our time and attention on what's going to help ourselves and our family. I mean, the way I entertain myself, how do I entertain myself? When I go to Costa Rica, sometimes I'll go to the beach. The next time I go, I'm taking some people with me, and they will be, this time I'll spend some time with them. So basically, when you starve the beast, then you're keeping that food or that sustenance for yourself.
Absolutely.
So I'm teaching you how to starve the beast so that will go back to your family.
Right. The reason I bring up the Superdome is because I was there December 5th, 1981. I was the lead security supervisor for the Rolling Stones tour, Tattoo You tour, 1981. And we had 20 feet in front of the stage all the way to the back wall of the Stones dressing room. And that was our territory. They brought us on tour from Houston. We did 2 Houston shows, 2 Dallas shows, and then 2 months later, or a month later, we did the New Orleans show. And I'd never been to the Superdome. I've been to the Astrodome, and then they were flashing on the screens in the Superdome that you could put, I don't know, like 23 Astrodomes or something in the Superdome. And I was like, wow, this thing's that big? Because I used to be a ball boy and a press runner for the Astros, and I've been everywhere in the Astrodome. So I'm thinking, okay, well, let me go walk this thing, see how big it is. I was going to walk completely around it, on the mezzanine.
Right.
I got halfway around. And I was like, oh my God, I'm not walking another halfway around. So I just like cut right through the floor, straight up to the front of the stage. Boom, went back to stage. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, that was a lot. Yeah.
So that place is huge. And what they did is they took all these Katrina refugees and stuffed them in there without any security. And there's tons of nooks, crannies, all the cafeterias, the concession stands, the bathrooms, the utility rooms. All of these were used for criminal activity. And it was a horrendous thing that happened. And it's really, it's sad that those people had to go through that.
Yeah. A lot of them have a lot of mental trauma from that stuff too, because they said one girl said she was on the roof for 3 days.
Yeah.
And helicopters were flying over. They were surveying the infrastructure.
Yeah. And couldn't get rescued. Yeah. And we have a lot of them here who have established themselves. And of course, most of them, they're in the penitentiary. And I was there with a whole bunch of them, and they all go by NO, New Orleans. So you know exactly who they are. They're Katrina refugees.
Okay.
Yeah. So they, came over here and got caught up. Didn't have anything, had to leave everything in New Orleans and, just scrape by here for what they could. Right. Some of them had relatives here, some of them didn't. Some of them assimilated into the culture and have established themselves as entrepreneurs. And thank God for that, because we do like our food diversity here in Houston, Texas.
Yeah. So with Katrina, the people that we want to be, the people that see the writing on the wall, and we prepare ourselves and we get a chance to make the moves that we want to make, that we prepared for. We don't want to be those that were caught in that Superdome. We don't want to be that.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to be
But
that.
you have to be proactive in order not to be that person. And
exactly.
I'm really concerned because I see everybody doing the same thing that they do every day, just out at the malls on the weekend, spending all that money. I found out from a lady, she donated some clothes to the clothing pantry at our church. And she said, oh, I participate in retail therapy. I said, what is that? She says, well, when she gets depressed, she goes shopping. So a great percentage of the clothes that she gave had tags still on them. She never wore the stuff.
Right.
And I'm thinking, we just gotta, for those who want to be educated, they'll be educated. For those who don't, we just have to be, bless their hearts.
Or bring them along, dragging and screaming.
No, I can't. I tried that when I was younger. I tried to bring the people along, and it's like, that's wearing my energy out. Yeah, this bullet train is moving. If you want to get on it, it's going to slow down long enough for you to get on. Other than that, it's not going to drag anybody. Realize the energy that you use trying to help people that don't want help. That's one thing I learned, especially in prison. You cannot help people that don't want help. You could see a solution clear as day. You could see the solution, but if they don't want the solution, you need to keep it moving.
Absolutely. That's why I say, look, I can dunk your head underwater, try to make you drink. More likely than not, you're going to drown.
Yeah. Yeah. That's unfortunate. But yeah, we want to make sure that our I have, like I said, I have children, I have grandchildren, and I want to make sure that I'm a good steward over whatever God allows me to have. And I want to make sure that I'm leaving a legacy for them. And the way our system is made up, only the wealthy are leaving legacies for their children. A lot of the people that are around my age, when their parents pass away, they can't keep the assets. They have to sell the assets because the parent didn't pay it off, or there's some other kind of debt, or those kind of things. So yeah.
And that's getting really bad with people now that have Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, dementia, and of course, all these are purposely.
Yeah, right. They're intake related. My mom used to say garbage in, garbage out. Well, if you got garbage going in, and from what I understand, everything is all these diseases are because of inflammation. And what's causing the inflammation is the garbage that we're putting in, like the seed oils and the McDonald's and all these other things that It might taste good, and then it might be convenient, but convenience kills.
Yeah.
Just, it takes, I used to eat out a lot, but I didn't eat at those kind of restaurants when I was eating out. But we just gotta, we have to, financially speaking, if you go and get fresh vegetables from the grocery store and cook them, it may seem like it's more than McDonald's, but when you see a bag with a Big Mac in it or a hamburger in it and some fries, and you see a person online that says that they've had that bag for 5 years and that stuff hadn't rotted. Have you seen those, Floyd? Have you seen those?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And in the margarine that's not butter, you put the whole. I found out about the margarine and how it comes from a byproduct of the oil, and then I put it outside and nothing touched it, and that was it for that. So knowledge helps us, keep our bodies together and stuff, and going through cleanses and making sure we're not eating too much poison. Those kinds of things are all part of. They all piece together with the financial piece. So we have doctors that'll teach you how to stay away from sugars and things, and how to eat properly, along with people that help you keep your body. One of my things is I have to try to make time to exercise. I'm so busy. I stay up late, I sleep late, and then I get up and hit the ground running. It's like, wait a minute. After you do your devotionals, get at least a mile in on the treadmill, because that's going to keep me, from having bone problems, having all kinds of issues. We got to do all of these things. We're not taking care of ourselves. We're letting the system beat us down, and we're bowing to the tyranny of the urgent, and we have to stop doing that.
Absolutely. I got rear-ended on the freeway in May, and I don't have a car. I have a bicycle and a little Razor electric scooter. But I don't know if I want a car. I'd like to have one in case I gotta, make that escape. That would be the only really reason, because I moved to this little area where I live because everything's convenient. I can walk to my gym. I can walk to my bank. I can walk to Walmart. I can walk to Papados, Papacitos, Chili's, Cinemark Theater, Target. Everything is just right here. I don't need to go beyond this, except for like maybe go to a doctor or something like that.
You can walk to Papados.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It's a little far, but I'd probably ride the bike.
That's my favorite restaurant.
Okay. Yeah, this is where they were created, right here in Houston, Texas, the Papa Brothers. People should need to think about what they have available, because if the grid goes down, and our grid is, iffy. I'll leave it at that. Because our grid isn't hardened in the United States as it should be, especially on the southern coast where we get hit by hurricanes. You would think that we'd have the best infrastructure as far as utilities that you could shake a stick at, but we don't. And I think they do that for a reason. And if the electricity goes out, you're not going to have access to an ATM or a bank. You're not going to have access to stores. You're not going to have access to gas. You're not going to have access to, clean, fresh water. All these things you're not going to have when this happens. And it could happen right now. Are you prepared? Do you have fishing poles? Do you have fishing gear to catch fish? Do you have a BB gun or a pellet gun to maybe kill a bird or two if you have to kill that? Do you have protection, firearms protection? Do you have ammunition? Ammunition's a bartering medium of exchange. So if you have 9mm, 22s, 12 gauge, just common ammunition that everybody uses, 45s, that's a commodity, folks. So if you have 500 rounds of 22 ammo and you have a 22 long rifle, hey, you're going to survive. You're going to make it, because you can barter those off. 22 bullet will kill a deer, kill a man, do anything you need to do. A warning shot's cheap. a couple pennies.
Well, no warning shots. If, like I
No
said,
warning shots for
if
you.
you're coming any other way but the front door by my hand, because I'm the only one that lives here, you're not coming to bake cookies. And
Right.
let me ask you this. This is a thought.
Mhm.
So our grid, they're complaining about the fact that it would take so much money to fix it. Why did we send billions with a B dollars to Volodymyr Zelensky if we need to? Why can't we take care of home? Why did all that money go over there? Why do we send so much money over to other countries, Israel and all these other places? Why are we sending money over there when our house isn't clean?
Because they don't want to
That
clean
money
out.
could have been put on the grid. That money could have been put. That other countries like Germany, they got it together. Their roads, their grid, all the other stuff like that. Yes, it's obvious. It's painfully obvious that this is done by design. So
For
what do
those-
we do about it? We make sure that we have other means of energy when the grid goes down.
Absolutely. Wind,
I
solar.
don't know if yes, solar. So if all of my Christmas present to my children was a little solar charger, then I don't know whether the phones would be working, because if the grid is down, I don't know whether we have internet or all that. But if you have an inverter or a solar charger or solar, products, then that's going to take you a longer way on, as long as the sun is out.
Right.
So these are things people don't think about. They go to the mall and they buy all this stuff and these clothes and the gym shoes that they pay $200 for or $500. I hear they pay $500 for a pair of gym shoes now. But then they're not thinking about getting some kind of something that's going to charge up even a small refrigerator or a hot plate, or, do you have a fireplace in your house? Those kinds of things. These are things that most people don't think about.
Absolutely.
Yes, Mama Bear, Bible, God, and Jesus Christ, food, water, shelter. Exactly.
Right.
That's what we need.
Yeah, I was stopped by a pawn shop the other day when I was riding my bike to Walmart and just check it out, see what they had for gold and silver.
Mm-hmm.
So got really smoking deals on gold. They had a 38 gram, 14 karat gold necklace they wanted $2,400 for. I said, you got discounts for bulk? And they're like, well, what's bulk? I said, well, if I want to come here and drop $5,000 on some gold, what's that look like? Oh yeah, we'll give you a discount. I'm like, okay, probably be back. So I'm looking at everything else. And now apparently people pawn sneakers, tennis shoes. And I'm like, looking at it, it looks like Foot Locker and quarter of the store. And I see these high top tennis shoes profiled $650 for a pair of Louis Vuitton tennis shoes in a pawn shop. And I'm thinking to myself, who the hell would waste $650 on a pair of tennis shoes? And those probably cost $1,200 brand new.
Right. So that person thought it was more important to get the gym shoes than to get the education to make the money to perpetually take care of their families. I know of people who have a car and they paid $800 for the car, but they paid $4,000 for the rims. It's the mentality. It's the government indoctrination system. The government school systems are indoctrinating and they're not teaching. So like my children have never graced the halls of a government school. They went to Christian school and then they homeschooled after that. See what happened? They were in Christian school and the IRS came and started asking questions about me and interviewing people at the Christian school, and they scared the Christian school. So that at the end of that year, when summer came, we got a letter after being there 5 years that my children weren't invited back. And they had a lame excuse for it, but I didn't fight it. I didn't know until later when my court case came up and when the prosecution had to give me the discovery that they had interviewed people like at the school, the principal and the teacher or something like that. And so that scared them. So, but it was the best thing because after that we got in a homeschool network. And so my son's first government school was Georgia State University, where he got his master's. He went to Morehouse private school for the bachelor's, and my daughter's first government school was Georgia State. So, but they don't want you to teach your children how to be critical thinkers. We need to normalize critical thinking again, because these people don't know how to think. They have everything told to them by the television, tell a vision, and then the teachers and all these other people, and they're letting drag queens come in and teach children, but they won't let somebody like me come in with a children's curriculum on finances, because they don't want the kids to know.
Yep.
I did the little at my church. I volunteered to do little kids finance class, and then one of the ministers came and told me that they went shopping the next weekend, and then their young son said, "Mommy, don't use a credit card. Miss Jackson said don't use credit card." And we had a good laugh about that. It was so funny, but that education is key. I know a Jewish woman and her son, I think he was maybe about 8, and they go to Hebrew school. That little 8-year-old knew more about finances than a 12th grader in our society. So that's also a key on a younger level. Now I'm talking about educating grown folks who are already out there in the system, but an education to young children all the way up through 12th grade will be key for them to be able to thrive. Have you noticed that most of the children that win like the spelling bees and all that stuff are homeschool kids?
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. School's just an institution for you can dumb down, miseducated and programmed. That's all schools are for. I mean,
yeah, it was actually put together to get factory workers. So to get them all together and train them to go to the factories, but that's another story for another day.
And it goes back to the insurance companies in cahoots with the Federal Reserve and the bankers, and it all ties together.
The corporatocracy is what I call it. The corporatocracy. Government, the corporations, and the banksters.
Yep. And we can cover that on the next show and go into wherever we need to go. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We're running up on top of the hour, and I have Jeff Rahm coming on at 3:10. And I want to thank you very much for your knowledge, your experience, your wisdom, and your courage to do what you're doing for everybody. And obviously, definitely going to have you back. We'll take care of that on the back end.
All right.
And
thanks for having me on.
Well, any closing thoughts you have for everybody?
Just if you want to escape the rat race, come to Escape the Rat Race Challenge at escapetheRatRaceChallenge.com, and you'll learn what you need to do to escape the rat race. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Sherry. Appreciate you being here. All right, everybody. Dr. Sherry Peel Jackson. What a wonderful woman. You heard it from her. You heard it from her mouth. Everything that she's doing to prepare. This is somebody who was on the inside of the government, got persecuted by the government for telling everybody what's really going on. So I'm going to try to bring more guests exactly like Dr. Sherry Peel, because this is what I used to do. I used to bring PhDs, Juris Doctorates, doctors, educators, people who have real world experience that they can share with you everything that they've done, everything that they have to offer for you, to benefit you, to benefit humanity. As you see, there's a pattern working with my guests. The majority of my guests want to benefit humanity. They've given everything up to sacrifice for the betterment of this country, the world, and us as human beings here inhabiting this realm, being human. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. I hope you dug Dr. Peel Jackson. Keep going on Dr. Sherry. And then we had a little impromptu with LeFlore. She was supposed to come on at the very beginning after I did my little spiel with the chrono visor. But she was an hour late, and it worked out for the best. I'll get her on with Mark Z so she can talk more about her humanitarian project in the South Pacific, talk about the book that she published and LeFlore on trusts. She'll probably talk a little bit about her other authorships with writing the operation manuals for hard drives. She'll tell you what she knows with her humanitarian group. And I'm sure she'll express more of her adventure with Mickey Clan and Bonds for the Win and kind of give that aspect of it and where that stands today. Thank you for being here, everyone. I really appreciate all of you. Yeah, Ann's, y'all love Ann once y'all get to know her. Very proud and happy to have her as a business associate and a friend. And I do have an open invitation to go to the French Polynesian island and visit. And just give you a little synopsis of what Ann has coming. They've already told her, we're going to buy you a resort. We're going to buy you a jet airplane. We're going to buy you a helicopter. So find all that now. So when the hammer falls, we can get it for you and you can immediately start working. They're going to fly her into Orlando for training. So stay tuned for all that with Ann LeFlore. Again, Dr. Jackson, thank you very much for being here. Thank all my guests for being here. Thank you for everybody who participated in the chat. I will see you guys in 9 minutes back on YouTube. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell so I do put out more videos. You get it. Leave a comment below if you didn't participate in the chat. If you have any questions for anybody, former guests. For those of you who are going to watch the next show, Chief Fast Horse said he's going to hop on with Jeff. So stay tuned for that. There you go, folks. Again, thank you all for being here. I'll see you in a little bit.